What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bridge the Gap. My name is Holden Stephan Roy, and joining me today is none other than Montreal legend himself, Don Smooth. Ooh, whose name I spelt wrong, so I gotta go quickly fix that in the OBS. I put Don Smooth, which is just not
No problem. We
correct.
got. I have
Okay.
time that I can make
Yeah.
sure I go and host it.
But yeah, it's good to have you back. The first episode we covered all kinds of stuff about the trajectory of his life and the career and a bunch of accolades and various things he's done, from apparently being a seminal foundation to mixtapes, to running through the radio circuits, to being a key figure in terms of getting, people booked on bigger shows and just playing an overall part in galvanizing the scene. I think that's something that is undeniable, that Don Smooth is a name that gets treated with a sense of a glue for a lot of people who are coming into it when hip hop in English especially was starting to get its presence in the city, and everybody remembers tuning in to the radio station, hearing Don Smooth do his thing. And I didn't, but a lot of other people that I've talked to and have met across the hip hop
Yeah,
journey I've been on absolutely grew up on Don Smooth. So it's super great to have you back. And
let's be back.
yeah, the whole second episode, I have not yet figured out a formalized structure. It's been the most willy nilly experience, and yet they still seem to work out just all proper and fine. But what have you been up to? So we last talked, you were getting into the Twitch vibe, and now a whole
Yeah.
bunch of time's gone by. So give us a little bit of an update for the last year of your life with the evolutions, the Twitch vibes, everything that you've been got going on right now.
You know what? It's actually October. October made like officially 1 year. I started on Twitch. I did my first real Twitch experience in October for Thanksgiving last year, and it was a lot of. It's been a lot of learning. You know what I mean? It's like learning to DJ in a totally different way. Like to do it online is something that I never did. I've been DJing all my life, but Twitch was a whole different thing. So I guess for the past year, I've been learning what works, what doesn't, and I'm still learning. I mean, you never stop. But I've started to find, my space and what is working for me, and I'm just trying to build on that. I love the Twitch experience. I enjoy it very much. It's like it made DJing feel new for me again, because everything, I won't say that everything was just on autopilot, but I had done the clubs and the corporate events for so long, I didn't have to put much effort into doing it. It just came natural. Like I show up, I know what to do, I know the formulas, and everything worked naturally. But Twitch was like, it felt like I was literally starting to DJ from zero all over again. And at the same time, instead of frustrating me, that motivated me. It was like, okay, this is challenging, and it was exciting. So the past year has been navigating Twitch, figuring out what works, what doesn't. And like now I feel like I'm in a space where I'm like, okay, I see the direction that I want to take it, and I just keep building on it.
So how do you like read the crowd digitally? Like when you can't see them, because
That
that's
was
got to
that's
be
what I'm
like
going.
the hardest part of this.
That's the hardest part, right? So like my setup, I'm in my living room for the most part. Sometimes I do the basement, but most recently, for the longest time now, I've been doing the living room, and it's like, I'm a DJ. I'm accustomed to interacting with people live, seeing their body movement, seeing their facial reactions, and you can read a crowd that way. So now you come to Twitch now, nobody's in front of you. You're in the middle of your living room, and you have to act, and you have to give off the energy, like, boom, I'm in a club, it's hype, and blah, blah, blah. And but it took some time, but you can basically, the chat is the new dance floor, and you can tell by the movement of the chat, the speed of the chat, if how people are interacting, if they're feeling the vibe. Then you go off of emotes. You start looking at the emotes and like, okay, they're hype on this, and it's really become a science. And I was like, okay, so I kind of figured that out. Like you can read people by their reactions in the chat, and then I'm blessed. I have amazing mods. You know what I mean? Like I always say, people come for the music and they stay for the chat. Like, shout out
Mm.
T-Lox. She's here. She was here probably before me. Um, the mods, T-Lox, Steph Miller, I got to shout them out and thank them so much for what they do. But T-Lox, Steph Miller, Kim Sue, Nikki G, RC232, Tally 2, it's J777. They come in and they take care of the chat so well that it helps build the community, and people love interacting with them. They're so engaging. So when the people come in, sometimes, they fall into chats and I'll glance over and they're having interactions with each other. And I see like people come in and they all know each other and they conversate and it keeps them coming back. You know what I mean? So that's been a huge help. Having great mods like them has taken a lot of the weight off of my shoulders. I always say like the mods are like the security. They're the therapists. They bring a lot to the table. They're the backbone to the stream.
That's a really powerful point. Yo, shout out Vanessa for the host. Remember the silent party 45 minutes. I don't remember the silent party, but you could tell us what that means.
The silent party was, I was streaming a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if it was in the new year. No, actually it was in December. And it was on a Tuesday. On Tuesday, I do a program called Total Rewind, where it's basically throwbacks, 80s, 90s, 2000s. And I decided this one Tuesday, I'm going to do an all dancehall, reggae dancehall edition. So we're doing the all reggae dancehall edition. I think we were like 30, 45 minutes in it. Energy was good. Vibe was good. The room was nice. Power goes out. But luckily, I have a backup so that I would have Wi-Fi for at least 4 hours more. So even though like I couldn't be on OBS, I couldn't be on stream, I was still connected to the net. So I ended up going down into the chat now. And to my surprise, I was like, okay, guys, hold on. We got a power outage. Hang on for a bit. It'll come back in and we'll continue the show. 10 minutes goes by, 15 minutes goes by. The power is still not on, but we're all engaging. We're all communicating in the chat. The numbers start going up. There's no music playing. And people are like, hey, I think I hear Buju right now. Oh, I think I hear Beanie Man. Oh, I think I hear that Vibes Cartel. And it became a running joke. And they're all talking and saying, oh, I can hear this song playing right now. And they're all communicating and laughing and having a good vibe. 30 minutes goes by. I think there was over 30 people in the room. And we're just conversating, cracking jokes back and forth. Nobody's leaving. All of a sudden, people start throwing bits and subs to a stream that is...
That's wild.
It was like the most amazing thing. I was so humbled and honored at that. I looked at that and I was like, wow, like lights are out. We're just in here. I'm hoping that the electricity comes back on so I could continue the stream because it was such a good energy that we started off with. But here we are in the chat and everybody's conversating, having a good time just the same, just chatting. And people were not leaving. If anything, more people started coming into the room. And we stuck there, like T-Lock said, for like a good 45 minutes. And then we rated My Brother Forever Preach. And I was like, wow. I felt for me, that was like an experience like, okay, Don, maybe there's something else you need to do here other than in addition to the music thing, bring back some of that talk vibe that people just love to interact and talk. As much as they love the music, people like to talk to other people even more.
Yeah, I definitely would say I believe in that pretty strongly. But
of course,
no, but even that, like, I have to say, when I go to Preach's stream, I care less about the music than I do about the more conversational parts. That's the truth of it. Music part, I've never been the dude to really go to the DJ for the tunes. I've kind of always gone, well, I either used to go to the record store and then it was the algorithm since I can remember. But the talk part is so interesting because that is the type of stuff I like watch for fun. Like, I like to listen to people spit game and speak about things and that whole sense of community. And I think what you're saying about the mods is super powerful.
Shout out to Bonnie.
Yeah, Preach. I mean, no disrespect. Most people probably love the music part. I mean, a lot of the music you play, the only time I ever hear it is on your channel, which is like just kind of how it goes sometimes. But like, I think people like the inspiration. I mean, like, especially like the alliteration days. I'm a sucker for like a Monday motivation or a self-care Sunday. Like, I'm a sucker for alliteration. Throw that on there and I'm in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like the talk part, I don't know. I mean, I started watching the 20-year-olds. I find like little 20-year-olds that get 30 numbers and like they just sit there and like do their hair for 4 hours and chat with people and they get better numbers than me. So I'm like,
listen, I saw a stream. Somebody dragged me to a stream, took me to a stream. A guy was sleeping. No music, no nothing. Like sleeping. And there was over 200 people in the room. And he was legit just sleeping. And there was over 200 people in the room watching it. So there's nothing surprising me on Twitch anymore what people will watch.
Nah, I'm like bamboozled by it. And then like, I mean, I don't know how long term you can run that, but like, shout out DJ DiBiase MTL for the follow.
Hey,
Yo, shout out
DiBiase, that's my
Bashman.
guy.
I haven't seen DJ Bashman booth in a minute.
Welcome back, Bash.
But yeah, I'm seeing people coming through. But yeah, Twitch is wild, but I think the community part's super important. That's
Yeah.
the mod part. What do you look for in a mod? I mean, honestly, like Bonnie holds it down, but I don't think Bonnie can hold it down by herself forever. And when Bonnie's not holding it down, oh boy, is the stream harder. So it's like, what is it that you feel like is important for that side of it? Because I know that there's a bunch of people probably going to get into Twitch at some point and are not going to be thinking mods, because it was certainly not my first thought.
To tell you the honest truth, my mods found me, in terms that all of my mods were people that were showing up at my stream on a regular basis. They were there from, from the time I turned the camera on in the first year. And I would notice there was a pattern. There was a group, the T-Locks, the Kim Sues, the RC232s, Steph Millers. They were showing up all the time. So I was like, okay, you guys are already here all the time. And they support the channel. Like, whether it was 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people in the room in those days, they always came through and they supported. So I asked them if they'd be willing, if they'd be down to do it. And I think that the mods, in some cases, in my case anyway, the mods chose the streamer. They saw a stream that they enjoyed and they liked, and I think that's why that they're so attached to it, and that they have so much passion for it, and they support it and they get behind it because they were doing it anyway, right? They were there. They were my first supporters, and they were there doing it. And bless them for being there and taking time out of their schedules to do what they do for me.
Nah, it's super. That's a good way to put it. And that's honestly how everything seems to work. You fucking just put yourself out there, and people find you.
Well, that's it. You attract. You don't go after. You attract.
Yeah, it's the smarter way to approach it all. But do you plan on branching beyond then just music streams? Like, would you go into like Don Smooth playing Jackbox games with a bunch of people?
They sound like Forever Preach. We've had this conversation like on a weekly basis. I'm not sure about the jackpot games, but
so good, dude. So good.
I definitely have to like extend myself. Like, I could definitely see myself doing product review, or I'm a techie guy. I love the DJ technology. I love when the new stuff comes out, and that's definitely something that I'd like to add to what I do. Is like, have a day you sit down, get my hands on some new products, showcase it, show it how it works, the ups and downs, the goods and the bads, stuff that's DJ related. Start from there and work my way outward.
Product review Don may actually be a hot commodity, though. It's not like turn this idea down. That's YouTube fodder, bro. That is how you can get some real bank on YouTube, honestly.
I just have to figure out a way to do it, because lots of people are doing product reviews. So I have to figure out how to angle it that bring in my edge. What's going to be different about mine from everybody else's? But I really think I could tap into the DJs and really show them like a neutral, unbiased review of products or different DJ services. I think I could bring that to the table with my years of knowledge. I've gone from the analog to digital days, so I've seen what works and what hasn't over time.
Yeah, you could definitely do all of that. I mean, I'm just picturing it from like the how-to or product review keyword, and it's just like from an SEO perspective. Oh my word, this is gold. And I don't think you have to worry that much about your edge, man. Like, most people are boring. Like, it's just what it is. Like, you watch product reviews and they're never talking to hip hop. They're just never they never are. So like, you just get into that sphere and you just speak naturally, and you're going to attract it. Like, nobody gave a crap about rappers rapping when they were making all their OBS videos.
Yeah.
There's a whole market that's just untapped doing yourself and the exact same content, but just speaking different. That's how YouTube is. It's YouTube is so much like Twitch, only your content's shorter and more polished. And like, that's the main difference of it. So like, if you're doing a live product review and then you can just do it in a way where you structure it right, boom. And then you do it while you're interviewing somebody, give Preach what he wants. A combination of product review interview. Oof, that could be some hot, like, extra. Preview the new track.
Oh, it's definitely something I can work at. I just want to take a moment. It's the Twitch brain going. I always have to shout out the people that come through. Shout out my brother J.E. Buns. I see you. Shout out to Bash, DJ DiBiase, Nikki G, everybody that's in the chat right now. Thank you for passing through.
Shout out all y'all. Yeah, it's so different. Like, cause in the DJ world, you just like shout out everyone, and in the interview time, you're like half the time like I gotta shout them out at some point. But if I interrupt him now, it's gonna fuck up the whole vibe
Yeah.
of this shit. So it's like
No,
I just have like a running tab.
I know where the breaks are.
So yeah, I think that would be fire. Like, and like, would you work with the DJ kind of gear in general, or would you expand it into like super regular stuff like Don Smooth reviews, Amazon lights?
Yeah, you know what? I think I would have to start with my base, right? My foundation is DJing, so I would start there and then expand on it, because ever since now, because of Twitch, now I've expanded. Like, I'm messing with lights now, I'm messing with cameras, I'm messing with a lot of things and different softwares and stuff that I never used before. So I think a lot of what I would like to do is show from the ground up, like how somebody that maybe has never had experience with Photoshop and After Effects, really dumb it down and simplify it. Like, if this is your first time doing it and you're a DJ that's never, messed with these things before, how you could incorporate it in doing what you do and polishing up your product.
Yeah, it's big fire. So you're gonna be DJ man and move into educational mentorship via tech reviews. That's big money.
Well, truth be told, before Twitch, I was teaching DJ at within Lester B. Pearson here in Montreal. So like, I was after school, I was teaching high school kids how to DJ. And one of my DJs, be on the lookout. His name is Pink Shoelace. Goes by the name of Pink Shoelace on Instagram. A couple of times now, I've seen like Pink Shoelace has gone live, or I see Fat Man Scoop is live. I'll go in and he's in the room with Fat Man Scoop. Like, he's a determined kid, and he's managed to create a rapport.
When you say go in the room, you mean
like on IG Live?
Okay.
Like, he'll go on, Fat Man Scoop will be on IG Live, and he'll bring this kid into the room. And this was like one of my students, just like before the whole pandemic crap.
Yeah, it's actually pretty wild. I heard our DJ scene, like on the electronic side, is just like next level. Like, they're really just kind of producing stars that I've never heard of because I don't really follow it. But like, really, Montreal's DJs are like making noise around the world, is what I'm hearing.
Oh yeah, and have been for a long time. Of course, we got the K Trinadas and the A-Tracks and all that. But there was like, back in the 90s, there was like the Mark Anthonys and the Miss Barbaras. And these were people that went global a long time ago. So Montreal is definitely on the EDM circuit, very, very well respected. Like, I mean, legendary David Morales came and opened up a club in Montreal, Stereo.
Oh, fair. I had no idea. I mean,
yeah.
I have the same amount of ignorance to that history of the city as I did to hip hop before I started learning. Only I put no effort into learning that side. I just know a lot of stuff's happening there, and they be doing bigger things. And their Facebook events have way better bios. That's all I can tell you. Is that scene, they believe in the artist bio in a way that I do not see on the hip hop side so much.
Oh, the EDM is massive. I mean, like, you got these festivals that, there's 100,000 people. It's like, it's a whole different stratosphere, totally, altogether.
Yeah, it's wild to think about. Like, just like Preach, that's Morales, never knew. People don't know that kind of stuff. I know Stereo existed.
And it's known, they dub it as having the best sound system in all of North America.
Do you agree with that statement?
They make that claim. Huh?
Do you agree with that statement?
I've never been to Stereo. I've never been there personally, but I've heard, that it's pretty amazing. I have heard that it's pretty amazing. I haven't personally been. But to make that statement, you definitely have to back it up with something.
That's fair. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of places like that make statements like that, but people like you don't say it unless it's got like a level of cosign to it. Yeah. Bashman's saying it's true, so I'm gonna run it and go that it's got it. I think I went once, but I was on Molly and I don't remember what it sounded like. So
okay,
cool. It's just kind of how it goes sometimes. So with that, the Twitch, right? I was I just don't want to forget this. Now we've warmed up a little bit. I was watching the clips from our part 1, and there was something that you said you would talk about in the part 2.
Okay.
I'm really hoping we could discuss that because, like, there's a bunch of people here now and I'm feeling it. But it's about the Junos and being a judge for that. And you were like, I'll do that in the part 2. And I'm like, that's fantastic. I'm glad I reminded myself of that, me in the past watching this. So, like, how did you get involved in that? Because that's like a wild thing. You said 7 years you were involved in
Yeah,
the
I
judging
was
of it.
on the I was on the panel for the judging for the rap category for the Junos. How it came to be was, you know, when I had the opportunity on the radio station, it's one thing that it opened doors for me, but then it's what do you do once those doors are open? And I reached out to everybody. So I started plugging in to all the people that I needed to plug into in Toronto. And I started getting a rapport with the labels. I knew the label reps here in Montreal. I went further and I started to introduce myself to the label reps in Toronto. So I built up a little network. And at that time, you know, they were like, wow, okay, we got this dude now that we're communicating with. We want to know how these records are doing in Montreal. We want to know what's hot in Montreal. So I was that guy that I would give them a top 20 or top 25, I think it was. I used to do this bi-weekly, and I would type it out, send it to them. What's hot, what's not, what's working in the clubs, what's working in the radio. And I did this for a period of time, and they said, well, listen, they're like, Montreal.
How did you get? How did you determine what was hot and not? Like, how did you get that information?
Well, for one, I'm on the radio. I'm on the radio 4 nights a week, 6 hours. So you start to get a feel for what people are requesting, what people are getting into. And then on top of that, I'm DJing in the clubs 2, 3, sometimes 4 nights a week. So I'm visually seeing what's hot. So it was very easy for me to make the determination. You know, I put together a legit list that really represented our city.
Okay. So basically, because of the position you were in, you were just tapped in well enough and were collecting that data in general. Were you like tracking it in any kind of formal way? Or was it just like, yeah, I noticed this, I noticed that? Or did it become like something you were actively focused on?
I wasn't saying like, I can't say that I was tracking it, like, you know, writing down, keeping the data and all that, but I did make note of what people were requesting. And then I would make note of like, okay, this song is getting requested X amount of times in a show or X amount of times in a week. Or I would be in the clubs playing and you're like, okay, you try different things and you see, okay, this is really blowing up. This artist is making a lot of noise. This album's getting a lot of attention. And you went forward with that. And I would base my charts based on that. And I guess whatever I said to them made sense to them. And then down the line, I don't even know if it was after 6 months or whatever, they said, listen, Montreal is the second biggest market in Canada. And they're like, we have no representation. It's time that we open up the Junos and get more representation. They're like, plus there's the huge French scene out there that's underrepresented in terms of with the Junos. And they asked me if I would get on board. And I was like, hell yeah, why not? Sure.
So once you get into the Juno vibe, like, what is it that the Junos cares about, I guess? Like, what do you guys look at as a Juno judge?
You know, it doesn't go into, we didn't get into, I would think that it would be, you know, the quality of the music or anything like that. There was just very simple criteria that they looked at. They wanted to know the time period of when the album was released, that it was, you know, 100% like a Canadian product. And, you know, there was other little legalities that it had to make sure, you know, you were signed to SoCan and stuff like that. Little legalities that it was a legit album and if it qualified for an album. So we would sit there, I would go to Toronto, they would fly me out to Toronto, I would go to Toronto and they would just open up a box with a stack of music. And we weren't listening to it. Like they would pass the CDs around, we would look at it, look at the credits in the back, and we would determine what was worthy to make the cut.
So you guys literally judged the CDs by the cover? Not like hype or what?
No. It's not. It wasn't blind like that. We went through it. We went through the covers and the liner notes. We just wanted to see who the artists were, but also make sure that it met the certain criteria. We had a list of things
this was not necessarily about determining who was going to win. It was more at a qualification level to be considered.
Exactly.
Okay, I understand.
Exactly. Yeah. And then after that stage, then it went to a blind panel. Like they were anonymous. It went to another panel that listened to the songs then to determine. But we were at the stage, at the judging stage, we determined if you were eligible to then go on to be considered for winning a Juno.
Okay, so after you get vetted then, and is the criteria hard? Like, let's say you just coming into the game, is it worth applying for a Juno?
When I came back, I was so happy that I was a part of it because it's a very simple process. And I don't think much has changed. And I don't think a lot of artists in the city even knew this at the time. I wasn't aware of it. People were just able to go online. The link is there. Anybody could apply. I don't know. I think it was I think it was $30 back then. I'm not even sure what it was. And that was it. Like there was not a whole lot to it. And you would make it in that pile to be considered for a Juno. And they told me, they're like, we don't understand. We don't get any submissions from Montreal. So they brought me in to bring that number up, to help them bring that number up, because it was very underrepresented. All of the submissions were basically Toronto, and you'd get the occasional that came from out west, a couple maybe from Van City, a couple from Alberta, but it was like 90% Toronto. So then I came in there and we started bringing up, and I started showing the Montreal guys, I'm like, guys, this is not, it's not that hard to be considered for this. Like people just didn't understand the process. And once they did, some good amount jumped on board.
That's interesting. Like, I mean, I can tell you I've never heard anybody I know personally in the hip hop game go for a Juno. I mean, that I know personally. Not that I know, because I don't know who's gone for a Juno. I looked it up at one point, and I think it's like $100 now. But even still, it's not like, I mean, that's nothing, all things considered. It's not even like a number that's stress. And like, I think a lot of us don't pursue a Juno because in the back of your mind, you're like, I ain't sold shit. and
there's sales didn't come into a part of being eligible.
I mean, it preach as a few of us apply doesn't mean you're getting chosen, though. I mean, that's fair. I just like, I'm saying it's one of those things where like, I guess you have moments where you're like, how is it like nobody I've talked to is like been like, yo, I went for that Juno this year, and like nobody I ever talked to.
I think I think people just didn't know how.
And then to think that they want us to do it, you know, like that feels like a cash grab. I suppose, yeah, if you're putting up $100 and you're not getting anything out of it, that does feel like a cash grab. But at the end of the day, you know what? I don't.
Well, listen, hold on. Let me just to address that. You have to remember the people that are sitting down. They're label heads. It's label heads. It's other radio people that are there. So let's say you don't get chosen for the Juno. There's no guarantee that you're going to be chosen for the Juno, but your name then goes into, you're increasing awareness of who you are. I discovered a lot of artists getting their CDs there that I would have never heard about. So then boom, I might go and look up that artist. I might be interested in start playing that artist's music. So the Juno might be the end all of what you hope to get out of it, but it's still, you're exposing yourself to people in the industry that possibly could do something for you.
That's fair. Honestly, I never thought I'd win a Juno, but I certainly want a nomination. Like, I want my name on TV next to Drake so Drake can beat me. Like,
why not?
Because, like, I mean, maybe for, like, but I mean, as Preach is saying, like, Drake's going to be there, cool, but, like, yeah, I kind of would, like, be really okay with losing to Drake, personally. Like, just, I would love to see my face there next to Drake. I'd be like, that's wild. My mom would watch that on TV, and, like, all of my shitheadery of my teenage years would be forgotten. I don't know, but like I get why other people might not want to, but like I don't know. To me, I'm like, that is because I don't give a shit about winning a Juno. I'm like, I don't really believe in award shows like that. Like, I just want the nomination. I want to go to the party. I know you have to pay to go to the party too. Like, I know that's not even free. I'm okay with that. Think about how dope that story would be. Like, I went to the Junos. That's a fucking YouTube video right there.
For sure.
Flip that into some merch or something. I don't know. Make actual money off the experience of getting nominated. That's what I would want. That's my dream off the Junos. I couldn't care less about winning. I mean, winning would be nice, but then Drake will show up and then, yeah. What are you supposed to do?
I wasn't an award show at the Stylist Awards. It was like right before. Well, I mean, Drake was already big at the time, and I was at the award show, and yeah, I was nominated for a couple of awards like radio host and DJ of the year type stuff like that. And I went up and I was an announcer, and I was on stage when the Drake came on stage. So at that point, it was like the nominations, all that. It was cool and all that, but then it was a good experience because we got to rub shoulders backstage after the show. So it was like, okay. Sometimes, I went there for one thing and then something else even better ended up happening out of it. So.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, for me, it's like, I mean, even a Grammy. After I found out how weird the Grammys are, it's like, I'm okay not winning a Grammy for the rest of my life. That's fine by me. You know what we should do, though? Is just invent our own award show. I don't know that I should invent an award show. I think somebody more like Preacher, you should invent an award show. Y'all have more credibility, is all I'm saying.
Well, they got all kind of Twitch awards I've been seeing popping up. Seems like anybody can do them.
But yeah, the Grammys are wild. I mean, I don't know how legitimate the Junos are. I know that there's that legendary story of swollen members going viral via the Junos by accident. Like they won and nobody was expecting it. So like I heard that story and I was always very motivated by that because swollen members can win by accident, not by accident, but like anyone can. And then I liked them and their music was solid. So like I always felt a little bit that there was credibility in the Junos, but that nobody outside of Canada gave a shit.
No, or the Americans, if they're even aware of it, you know. But yeah,
I'm cool with that. I still fucks with the Junos. I watched them a lot when I was young. But
you see what that whole experience did for me was then like I met the Jodys and the Jay Devinishes in Toronto. So now whenever the artist, let's say the artist didn't come to Montreal now, so this was a byproduct of me doing what I did with the Juno nominees. So now the label heads started booking me for the interviews. Like sometimes the artists would come to Montreal, but they would say, okay, listen, you got to talk to this guy, does Montreal radio. And then they started, you know, it expanded my network and my reach, and I was able to get access to a lot more people after that. So
yeah, that's a good point. I think as like the Twitch journalist media people, going to the Junos is a different flex than going as a rapper. That's a whole different vibe. I'm not even thinking about it like as a rapper. I'm just going, yo, I could TikTok it. I don't know. Have you gotten into TikTok yet?
Not yet. My son is this that I need to get on there and do some stuff on there. So it's I don't rule out anything. I just haven't made my way over there yet.
Yeah. He sounds like the judges are the real Juno celebs. That's fair, man. It does sound like that a little bit. Y'all get to do all the fun stuff. That's up. Yo, it sounds like a good job. They treated us very
well, I can say that. They treated us well.
That's it. If the artist got to pay to go to the party, pay to travel, pay to everything, and the judge gets flown over and gets, you know,
yeah.
All right, I see where you're coming from. It's just perspectives, right?
Right.
Yeah, TikTok. That would be something. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I can't say definitively it's the firest thing in the world. I can say I fucking like TikTok now. I like it so much I barely care about using Facebook because it's like TikTok is fun and Facebook is mean. I know that's a simple way of putting it, but the Facebook of 2022 is a weird place. And TikTok doesn't show me any of that weird shit. It's just like, boom, here's a bunch of couples jokes because we know you like couples jokes. And I'm like, I do like that shit. Give me more of them. That's the only downside. TikTok can distract the shit out of you for like 5, 10, 20 minutes sometimes. You're like...
easily. You go down those rabbit holes and you just keep on going and going and going.
But other than that, it's fun to make them. I feel like TikTok has forced me to think about visual creation in a different way. How do you make a 1-minute music video? But I'm watching people pull it off, and it's like, oh, this is just different, you know? And it got me, like, really... It got me feeling the way you felt about Twitch, because, like, it's such a challenge. I'm used to, like, long, unabridged, very little editing, and TikTok is... if you ever disappear, that's funny. It could happen. So I could get kidnapped by TikTok or something. I don't know. But like, all I'm saying is it's forced me to think about creating video content and visuals in a completely different way. That's going to make me a much better video editor and creator in the future for other kinds of content. And it's really cool because it makes it fun to play with video editing in a way where Adobe makes it not fun to play with video editing.
Yeah.
That's why it does. So like outside of that, like what are some of the kind of experiences and benefits you see from the Twitch game that you've had and how it like is gonna propel forward? Like what comes next, I guess, in the Don Smooth experience?
Well, you know, we keep on continue grinding, build that community. I like the direction things are going. And like I mentioned, like, you know, expand on what we're already doing. And then, as mentioned, you know, you bring back some of the radio elements because like that 45 minutes of silence that T-Lox referred to, it definitely showed me that there's something there. There's something. I'm not going to bring back Don Smooth of K103. That train has left the station a long time ago. But I definitely see... implementing more chatting going forward. I've even asked my community how they would feel about it, and it was like everybody's down for it. They would like to see it. So it's just for me to figure out, the day and the time when I'm going to do it. And now reaching the thing that I love about Twitch is the fact that it's global, right? So I'm reaching you reaching the world. So like the possibilities are endless. You could go so far with it.
Is your audience like mostly in Montreal, or have you managed to like tap into other countries and other places?
Definitely the core audience is Montreal. A lot of people from Toronto drop in, but more and more as of recently, now that I stream in the daytime, I used to always stream at night before, but now that I pop in at 3:00 Eastern Standard Time, we're getting the Germany, the other day we get Denmark, we get the UK pretty often. South Africa pops in, New Zealand. So that's another thing now that I've learned about, okay, what's a good time to situate myself where, I'm not just thinking Montreal, not just thinking Eastern Standard, but then you think about the rest of the world. When I was going on at night, the whole rest of the world is sleeping. So I come on in the afternoon now and starting to get those people from overseas, from Europe and all that.
Yo, that's a wild thought that like, so your world to capitalize on time. That's why Preach is going so early in the day. That makes a lot of sense. Y'all are just capitalizing on Globe. And John would shut down Twitch at the time. You should just do a talk show, just shooting the shit with Don Smooth. Like it seems like a weird thing, but like people kind of appreciate the wisdom of guys like you who've actually been there, done that, and seen things. Like even when I'm listening to our last interview, just the idea of how you see the world through singles and how they give you these DJ press kit things in a sense that provides you with all these materials. I don't even know you need all that stuff. And I'm finding out you're getting all this stuff. And a lot of us don't get exposed to it because, believe it or not, Googling shit is not helpful for a lot of these topics. Like it is after a while, but the original parts of Google's are pretty bad. Like most of the people that rank now say really garbage crap. So like people might be exposed to a lot of information, but they lack the wisdom of somebody such as yourself to come through and kind of cut through the noise. Even if you reacted to shit, man, you could even go that route if you have no other ideas. Just watch some fucking talking people and be like, that's some bullshit. That's some fire. Like what Preach is doing, curating fucking wisdom is just another route for it. Cause like, he's like, Preach is like, I just spent 4 hours saying all this to you, which is like, it might be what it is, but it's cause I want to see that. I'm just a selfish person when it comes to content. You want to see something, you're like, nah, Don Smooth got like a vibe to him when he tells stories. I want to see more stories from Don Smooth. How do you get that?
I'm going to share them.
And but that's why people want to see the talk show shit. And I think even with music too, it's harder to make personality through music. I don't know. Like I feel like I remember talking more than I remember the songs you played. Even you're like the way you like just say people's names has like a different energy than other people.
Well, I guess that's a good thing. But Preach and I have this conversation, I swear, like weekly. Like we just had like a 2-3 hour conversation the other day. And he's like, Don, he's like, you got to bring back the talk. He's like, just go out there and do it. And it's definitely something that's been there. It's something that I'm going to address, I'm going to do. And I just have to figure out exactly how I want to structure it. But definitely, I'm going to sample that and try that out because with the music thing, it's fantastic. It's great. But then like, it's not separating me from anybody else that's playing music. But fair. Then when I bring in more of me, of my personality and put the music to the background, switch places, right now the music's in the forefront and I'm there navigating through it. But if I bring myself to the forefront, put the music in the background, and when you create a personality, I feel then that's something that people will connect with even more.
Yo, Preach is dropping ideas in the chat right now that might sound like really ridiculous, but it's how Mr. Bean made all his money. Mr. Beast, sorry. Mr. Beast, the YouTuber. Not Mr. Bean, that was a mistake. Mr. Beast, the YouTuber, basically did a bunch of ridiculous shit with absolute confidence, and he is fucking loaded right now. And his whole job is like, I'm going to get paid to give away $500,000 and somehow makes $10 million on that. So, like, But because he's saying
Wow.
shit like, tell Don, read the ingredients on a can of beans. Man, if you just picked up items and made a YouTube video, just like fucking reading the ingredients, just like Don Smooth reads, and then you just do the shit,
Reads,
man.
read, reads, preaches killing me.
But yo, Don Smooth reads would be a hot series. I'm a content marketer. I might not be the best at everything, but I know when I can see a series that you can reproduce at very little effort to your life, that would be weirdly hot because people are weird, even though you in your heart and soul are like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. It might be. That doesn't
Yeah.
matter sometimes because the shit would be hot. Why? Just picture what marijuana does to people, my guy.
Don
Sometimes
Smooth reads.
you just gotta remember
It's
that
definitely noted.
college stoner kids are a very it's a big market now that weed's legal, and that's the type of shit where who knows, maybe you read educational stuff too, maybe you just break down what this shit means. I don't know, I'm just gonna spitball it for a sec. That's just how my
Well,
brain goes with it.
you know, it's interesting that you guys mentioned this right now because something else that I have started doing now in late 2021 is I've actually started doing voice acting. So doing ads for, I did something for Gatorade, I did something for the TD Bank. So that's something now
Those are
that's
like
going to be
name
done.
names.
Yeah. I got into voice acting, and so definitely the Don Smooth reads is not too far from reality.
Yo, like, yeah, because as Preach is saying, if you read books on Audible, that'd be money. And you might, that one's actually a hot idea. I don't know how you get into that shit. I know it involves getting into voice acting, but that sounds like that would be such an ill job. You're getting paid to read out loud. Whew.
Yeah, you could just sit in your pajamas in a robe all day long and just read scripts. Like I love it. I just got introduced to it. I've done a couple of things, and it's like that's definitely where I'm going to put a lot of energy going forward. And then maybe that's something that I would, once it reaches a certain level, that's something I could introduce on Twitch. Like, boom, auditioning for voice acting or doing reads for voice acting, how to approach it now that I'm learning about that.
Yeah, you could do that now because you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like if you were to give me advice right now, I'd be like, yo, Don Smooth's done 2 of them, bro. I gotta listen to Don Smooth. I've done outside of my day job none of that shit. But it is dope that you got into voice acting. How did that fall into your lap?
Truth be told, I was referred by a friend of mine who we came up in the radio ranking together, cousin Vinny from I think he's on Virgin. Is it Virgin? They change the name so often. I believe it's Virgin. So cousin Vinny, the morning man from Virgin, he referred me to the agency that he works with, and then we connected. I did a demo, and then the rest is history. And they started calling me and sending scripts my way, and it's like, here's a script for Gatorade, here's a script for TD, and the last one I did was actually for Discovery, something on like the Nature Channel. But I'm still waiting to hear back from that one. But I was like, wow, like you want me to read this and you get this? I was like, wow.
And you have to edit it yourself and all that.
I record everything because I got my setup here at home. I do my recordings, I send it to them, and they clean it up and they polish it, and that's it.
So you just gotta know how to do the voice thing.
Yeah. You got to know how to do the voice, and you would think you're just going in there and talking, but there's really an art to it. Like I thought, I was like, okay, I've been making commercials for years, but it's not like that. They want certain tones and certain ranges, and you got to sound this way for that, and sound happy for this, but not too happy. And they're very meticulous and very particular in what they want. But yeah,
there's a wide range. I started watching ads on YouTube for inspiration at one point. It might sound weird, but I realized I could do a mean customer service how-to video, but put me on a promo video and I sound like ass. And they're completely different voices. And Bashman's working on his voice. But yeah, watch ads, actually. That would be the only thing I can tell you to do. Because if you want to know the range of voices, watch ads. And when you rap songs or whatever, it's like that. It's weird, but it's kind of like that, I think. I mean, I'm certain there's
that's how I prepared when I had to do my demo. That's what I prepared. Everything's on YouTube. You can learn everything on YouTube. I went on YouTube and I said, I Googled the movie guy and the top guys in the industry. And I watched how they deliver and how they use their voice, almost to say an instrument. And I'm like, okay, it's not just reading a script. So.
Nah, it's definitely more involved. It's almost like being a vocalist for singing, but just not singing. It's
Yeah.
different but really similar. I mean, I just did a bunch of tutorial videos at work and had to like I got criticized heavy at first for it because I was too rappy and they weren't happy with it, and I had to get more into my like when
Corporate voice.
the customer service voice, less corporate, but like more like, "Hey everyone, and welcome to how to whatever. This week we're going to be covering how," and it's not like reassuring and encouraging. And I'm picturing the old grannies and shit, and the people. You know, you gotta like honestly know who you're talking to for that. And that's all I got. That voice.
Yeah.
I could do a mean how to video for like anybody, and that's about all I could do really well. And then, but it's like that kind of shit. It reminds me a lot more like of being a customer service agent on the phone and having to like adapt to your client, and it's more like tapping into that shit than anything I ever did with music.
Yeah. It's a different beast. It's a whole different world on how you approach it. But it's something that I'm enjoying right now.
That's dope. So as far as like,
For me, I always look forward. Like I'm always thinking, okay, you know, we're here now, but then what's gonna be next? Like what you got to continuously evolve. And I feel so blessed that I'm fortunate enough that I'm evolving and still doing things that are kind of in the lane of what my foundation is built off of, just extending it in different ways.
I mean, I think that's part of why you get the legendary title and stuff.
I you know, it kills me every time I hear that because, and you know, shout out to everybody. Like, and you know what, I've heard that more. Like, I've been getting the praise and the accolades, I think the most now since I've been on Twitch. I don't know if it's because people are getting to see me in the flesh now as opposed to when they were listening to me on the radio. But I mean, I knew that I had an impact on the city of Montreal, but like I would have never imagined that people, you know, would have been calling me a legend and all that. But I take the title now. I would. I'm glad that I had an impact. When I say that, I'm glad that I had an impact on the city, and I'm glad more than anything that I'm a part of people's memories. Like Preach will tell you, the first time he heard a single on the radio, Don Smooth dropped it, or the first time he had an article in the newspaper, I wrote it, or you know, other people have different memories. The fact that I'm a part of people's memories, to me, that's legendary.
Man, I've had people brag about you hanging up on them. Okay, like, like you gotta understand that it wasn't once. It was like 5, 6 times. Sometimes on this very platform, Don Smooth hung up on me. I could never act, and I'm like, man,
that's hilarious.
You gotta be like a legend to have somebody, like a full ass grown ass man, brag about you hanging up on them.
That is hilarious. Well, them phones did get busy at times. They did.
So, like, let's say we wanted to revive something like that in the city. I mean, evidently, if it created memories, something like that should exist. I don't know, Preach be doing his thing, everybody be doing their thing. But, yo, like, I look at best lists and choosing the best is one of the hardest things in the world to actually do. So to be in the position of curating that, how does one approach it?
Well, with me, going back to what was done in my radio time, was I let the audience choose it. I put it out there to hopefully get an unbiased opinion, and I let the audience choose. You know, we had a segment that was called Battle of the New Tracks, and basically I would take 2 songs. In the beginning, it used to be like industry songs. It would be like Jay-Z versus, I don't know, whoever at the time, Fat Joe, whatever. And then over time, I was like, you know, that's cool and all that, but I'm like, that's not really doing anything. Like, they don't need none of that. So I was like, I started doing it with locals. Locals. One of the first groups was FBI Jedis, which was a group out of Ganawage. I started with them. So they're the hometown heroes. So they were slaughtering everybody, but then it got their fans tuning into the radio. And then there was an extension. People would be tuning in like, okay, we got to tune in, listen, we got to support, call up the radio station, vote for our group. So I was like, okay. I was like, we got something here. So I was like, you know what? Instead of me doing mainstream artists that don't need this, I'm going to focus on the local artists. And then at the same time, that was making those artists go out there and say, made them work. They had to call up their friends and say, listen, you got to call the radio station and vote for me. You got to get behind there and support me. And it just snowballed to the point where like I had like, there was a waiting list of people that wanted to be on the Battle of the New Tracks. And then I let the audience decide. The audience would decide who was the best. And if you won for like, you know, 2 weeks, if you ran, I think I used to do it like if you had to win like 10 in a row, If you ran for 2 weeks, then I would put your song into rotation. Those songs never played throughout my show. That was the only time those songs would get played. So you won the battle of the new tracks. That's how you earned a spot to get played among the other music after that.
Yeah, that's a super interesting.
The audience decided.
Nah, that's a wild concept. I mean, it's hard to do with Instagram. Instagram's a weird platform for it, but it might be really pull. You could probably pull something like that off on Twitch. You could like leverage a Discord for the calls.
Yeah,
that'd be wild. Cause yeah, I don't know, something like that is needed. There's no like unbiased middle ground where people can submit the music. That's like a hub. I guess it adds context to what I see other people doing and trying to bring it back, and why so many people were like, we need to bring back what Don Smooth was doing. Because I've heard that too. Even before I talked to you, people were saying that about it. Because like there was something to it, but really it brought people into it. It brought fans into it. It brought like a level of it. And you can kind of do that with an Instagram story, but like it just disappears really quick, and then it's just not cool. Like I don't find like Instagram sticks. Like it's just nobody cares after 2 weeks.
So it's microwave, it's just hot for a minute, and then people move on to the next thing, where people really got invested into this. Like they were up on it on a daily basis. Shout out to Pixie, definitely. Forever Preach, I think definitely he's on that Montreal vibe right now. He's promoting the Montreal music, exposing them to Twitch now. So like he's grabbed the baton and he's running with it. Guys like yourself, 514 Online Mix, like you guys have. I've passed the baton. You guys are running with it now. So definitely that's something that can continue on. And you have your versions of it. But it was really, what more than anything, it made the artists level up. It gave them motivation. They learned that, like, you can't just show up at the radio station, here, play my CD and get played. No, you got to earn that. You want your music to get played. I don't care if you call your friends and your friends or all your friends are calling the radio station for you to win. That's kind of what you got to do. You got to build that fan base. Those are the same friends now. When you got to do a show, these are the people that you got to get to buy tickets to come and support you. So I was indirectly, I was trying to plant that in the artists. Like, this is a way you got to market yourself, get your people behind you to support you. And you want to get played on the radio? It's not for free, but if you show me that you did this and you went through these steps, I'll drop you in there and you'll be playing next to the mainstream artists as well. And you would see like the quality of it, like it started here, and the quality of the music, like it really took off over time. It forced people to level up and to get better at what they were doing.
So like, if you were to do something like that today, would you do it with videos? Like, how would you manifest this?
I mean, if you're talking the Twitch route, I would definitely, as much as possible, like to bring the videos, because I mean, the capabilities are there, so why not use it? You know, I mean, video wasn't an option, but video is an option now. So if I was to do it on Twitch, I would hope that the artists would have videos or come through with some kind of visuals. Say if they don't have a video, maybe they could record themselves spitting it. People just like to put a face to the voice or to what they're doing. You know, it just adds to the total package. So I would definitely like a video to be a part of it. A big part of what I do on Twitch is video DJing now anyway. But for something like that, I wouldn't come back and do it the way it was done in, 2010. For sure, I would want to add the videos to it.
And so for you, it's not necessarily about like the illest music video, but just about adding to that personability to it. So people should just be pushing videos regardless.
Well, push good stuff. Like, you don't just push something for the sake of pushing it, but put together something of quality that's worthwhile. That other people will get something from it. Don't just make something for the sake of making it.
That's fair. Making music videos is hard. It is definitely like a whole other kind of thinking that's unlike most things I ever had to think about before. I made a whole lot before somebody told me B-roll was important. And then I'm like, oh, that's some important shit. And then I guess you can learn about it. But, it's hard to make good videos when you don't know anything about making good videos.
I've been on a few sets. I see it's a process. I've been on a few video sets. It's a process for sure.
But so outside of like that, what about the freestyle stuff? Would you be like, do you see like a need for people to be able to come through and do that? Because I believe you had a whole freestyle thing and that gave a lot of artist memories too. Because that's the thing that I
Okay.
think is most interesting, is that it left memories. To me, it's less about the clout, but more about the motivating people, because that's what's gonna, like you said, make people up their game. If they achieve or if they don't, one way or another, it's a signal.
Yeah. The freestyle thing, you know, I to be honest, I haven't given it much thought. I try not to, like, for me to approach it, I wouldn't want to come back and just redo what was already done. I would like to put a spin on things that were done already. You got to evolutionize things. Like, that was done, it worked, it was successful, people loved it, had fun with it. Even apparently, even if they got hung up on, but people love the whole freestyle thing. You know what I mean? People love to see it. So there's a way. I would have to think of a way, blueprint a way to do it and modernize it. Yeah. But does anyone still freestyle?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I mean, like, a lot of people don't because they're shy. Something I found out happened is a lot of the guys older than me were really, like, harsh with their feedback. And apparently, a lot of people took that to sensitive hearts and never decided to become better freestyles with it. Now, whether they were cut out for it or not, I don't know. In the current market, everybody's shy. And it's really bizarre. So I made an environment where I'm like, you can suck. So people showed up, and a few people came, and like, yo, this one dude was really not good on his first night. And if I had hung up on him, he wouldn't have got good. But then he kind of got good. He would go home and he'd practice off cam all week and shit. And then he came back. And I was like, and he got better. But he has a kid, so that's what happened. Almost everybody I know is breeding.
Real life kicks in.
And yo, do kids make people not be able to commit to things in like regular time period? And I'm not hating on parents for that. I totally respect the fact that you should probably prioritize your child. But it makes it so hard to work with people when they keep popping out kids over the last 2 years.
I would imagine so.
But yeah, I think that for me, that was the one thing I noticed. Even myself, like, I went to an end of the week Quebec thing where it was like Monkey and fucking CL and all these guys. And on top of that, they're rapping in French. So I'm like English and out of my element. And I didn't know you're supposed to like force your way in a little bit. And I'm just like, it was like I didn't know any of the rules of this shit. And we're talking like 2020. So it's not even that long ago.
Right.
And I finally started rapping at one point, and I was like, okay, got in. They know I rap now. But like, man, people don't even know you rap half the time. They just like look at you like, who the fuck's this guy? And then they just do their thing. And I'm like, yo, I see why a lot of people I know, because most of the people I know that rap now, they work in like jobs. They're not, let's say nobody I know that raps is from the streets. So that level of assertiveness might not be fully the same.
Okay. So it's a little different. Whereas in my time of we had a wide range. You had the dudes that were working, and you had the dudes from the streets that were able to fund their career and get production and get videos and all that. And definitely they had the swag about them and all of that.
Yeah, I know a lot of dudes that don't necessarily have that level of confidence in themselves, is what I've realized, and I'm being delicate with how I say it. But like, whether it's employment opportunities in life or a career or whatever, I've noticed that a lot of people aren't like brave like that. However, a lot of people be at home freestyling by themselves. I just don't think that they feel comfortable in public. And I say that because I tried to run a cipher in public, and man, people were not comfortable freestyling on the internet. But like from other cities, they obsess with it. But here, they're all okay doing it in like an alleyway or in private. You go to a party, everybody's rapping, but nobody want to do it in public.
You know, as someone, I've been in the entertainment industry, and it's okay to get nerves. It's normal. I think they always say, like, if you don't get nervous, then something is wrong. Like, if you don't get nervous when you're about to perform or go on stage, then something is wrong. And that anxiety, for me personally, that anxiety is there. Like, I could share a story with you. I remember, I don't even know what year it was. Anyways, it was like year 3 of the Montreal International Reggae Fest. I get called the night before. Hey, Don Smooth, we want you to host tomorrow. Great. I'm there. I'm at the Reggae Fest all the time anyhow. Oh, by the way, we want you to introduce Gregory Isaacs. I'm like, damn, okay. My thought in my mind, it's like, there's two sides. It's like, oh my God, this is a huge opportunity. And then the other side is like, oh my God, I'm introducing Gregory Isaacs. Like, you get one chance at this, you can't suck doing this. You know what I mean? So to those people that you're talking about that they get quiet or they get shy and they don't want to come out and talk, if you want to be a rapper, you cannot be quiet and shy. But anyway, not to go off on a tangent.
Nah, that's a big point though.
Then you can't. Like, then you're in the wrong business. You know what I mean? It's show and prove. That's it. That's all. So the day comes now. It's Saturday. I'm at my nephew's. I'm at a kid's party. I'm at my nephew's birthday party. Things are running late. It's like I gotta be downtown by a certain time to the old port to do this introduction for Gregory Isaacs. So now, the closer it gets to the time, I'm looking at the time. I'm like, my nerves, like it's going, it's building. But at the same time, I'm like, Don, you're a radio host. This is what you do. You got this invitation. You want to take it there? Then you show up. Like, you do this. No matter how much anxiety you're feeling, you got to do this. This is what you're doing. I get there, like, I'm late. Like, I have like no time to prepare, no time to go backstage and sit down. I literally got there, got to the gate, got my media pass, and I'm running through the crowd. I get there like, okay, Don, you're going on now. So it's like, I got on stage, and there's Reggae Fest at these times. You're talking easily 15,000 people. I get on the stage. I had nothing prepared. I literally ran from the car. I ran to the stage. Nothing's prepared. Nothing's written down. I get up there and it just clicked. Something just clicked. And I was like, I mean, keep in mind, I had a couple shots before I took the stage. Let's be honest. I'll be honest. I didn't forget that. I made sure I had a couple of shots before I took the stage. I wasn't going out there dry. And something just clicked in my head. And I said, I always, in reggae chants, people, are you ready? That just jumped into my head. So I'm like, people, are you ready? And of course, in a reggae environment, the crowd erupted. So I was like, all right, cool. Nerves are completely gone now. So I was like, Montreal, are you ready? They got even louder. I said, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the cool ruler, Mr. Night Nurse. And the crowd whipped into a frenzy and I brought out Gregory Isaacs to the stage. So all that to say, I did not let the anxiety, as much as I was feeling the anxiety, that anxiety turned into such a strong energy that I had an audience. They were in my hands. Like, what I was saying, I had them. And they were repeating it and just getting loud and whipped into a frenzy. And it was like, I still remember it to this day, like every moment of that. It was amazing.
Yeah, I'm with RC232 with it. Just got chills there. I was like sitting there going, yo, you need to get on that fucking site where the celebrity people say shit. Cameo. And just open a Cameo. You know what? Even if it's just in your sphere of things, you might be able to get people to send each other birthday cards in your voice, and you make a little something.
Imagine that.
I
can do that.
I'm imagining it, and I believe you should do it because I think people would do it. I don't know if a lot
All
of people.
All that to say is, so, like, for the artists out there, if you have any artists that are in the chat right now that are listening, if you just got to go with it, man. Like, I've noticed anytime that I've had a lot of anxiety or stress about doing something in entertainment in the business, you just do it. And you will be so surprised how successful or how good it comes out. And it just motivates you to never say no. Of course, I've been doing this for 30 years. I started in 1992. This is my 30th year. It gets no easier. When I have to get on stage, there's always a level of anxiety. When I have to play, there's always a level of anxiety. But I don't let that stop me.
I feel what you're saying. I mean, I definitely don't disagree with you. I just know that there are people who freestyle, but unfortunately, they don't like coming out in public and freestyling.
They got to break through that, and they will see that it's not as bad when they actually do it. Like, because if you don't do it, then you never really know. You're kind of selling yourself short. You might go up there and do it and just rock the crowd or rock whoever's in front of you, and then you're like, okay, and that just builds you up. You'll never know if you don't do it.
And like the regular public. Because, we were in Girard Park this summer, and we went, like, late, so it wasn't that lit, but we had, like, grannies and shit watching, and I know for a fact some of my raps were highly mediocre, and they were, like, totally into it. Because they're fucking like, yo, people are in the park freestyling. This is some New York shit.
Yeah, and they're being entertained.
I'm like, cool. And, like, And I realized it's not like you only get better the more you do it. Is the other part of it. Like you can't get better at rapping in public. Yo, like this Meyer Clarity kid shows up next to me and made me feel like I couldn't rap, but I still had to because I can't not rap. I'm hosting and shit. And like, but it made me realize, yo, there's so much to it in that like in real life crowd. But like if it's powerful. That's the one thing I think about this internet shit that has me kind of like wondering about a lot of people I see on the internet now. I'm like, I don't know how people are gonna translate back to real life. Like, who cares if you got 10,000 views if you can't get on a stage? I
At
like,
the end of the day, you still got to be able to show and prove in real life. Definitely.
and these are,
At the end of the day,
yeah, like I just, I don't know. It's weird. I guess with Twitch though, like maybe you can just do your whole career on Twitch though. Like, cause I mean, it sounds weird, but like there are people who in the rapper world have like I pay my rent money from freestyling off the chat. They gotta do it like 8 hours a day and shit. So they sit there for 8 hours a day smoking weed. The chat puts comments and they fucking freestyle and they pay their rent. And I'm like, so
oh no, definitely, it's grown to the level that yeah, you can avoid if you don't want to do the in the real life, you definitely can monetize and do it on digitally on digital platforms for sure, definitely.
I'm not gonna comment that part out loud.
But did I?
Nah, just DJ DiBiase and preach. I'm like, I don't have no, I have no opinion on that subject. I don't. Um, I met Dirtwork once in real life at a show, and that was it. That's my whole experience with him. And then I've seen him on Facebook winning Grammys. So
Yeah.
like, and then like my friends are friends with him. So I guess that's cool. I can say I'm friends with his friends, but like,
Friends with his friends. Yeah, he was a regular at the station. Like he was producing a lot of dudes back in the day. He was big producing for Bad News Brown, producing for Magnum, for a lot of other people. And once again, here's a guy. He grinded. He started traveling out to Toronto, started making connects there. Was it? I guess yeah. Boy Wonder teamed up with Boy Wonder, started getting into the right places in the right rooms. His product was dope, and we see what's going on with him now. So power to dirt work, man. Another Montreal export.
yeah, I like the way you said export. Basically, that's how I see a city as a cultural export that is competing for itself. When I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
hold up, y'all know, I don't know. Somebody told me they got paid 5 racks to go to Atlanta to do a show from here, and I said, wait, that's a thing? And he said, yeah, they're like Montreal, that's lit. And I was like, that's a thing? And then I found out that other people think Montreal's lit. It's just Montreal that's weird about Montreal, but like the rest of the world, like yo,
Yeah.
I went to New York in November, and when I was flying back, you don't understand, dude. Like the flight attendant lady was like geeking on like flying into Montreal, like I had just been geeking on flying out of New York, like it,
Right, right, right.
and I'd never seen anybody geek like that about Montreal. And I'm like, oh, say word, this girl would just buy a Montreal mixtape right now if I had one. And it was like this, like,
Montreal is respected globally. It's an international city. Like you said, we're here, so we have a different view on it. But outsiders come to Montreal and they love it.
do you have like a lot of experiences in other places where Montreal's just being getting crazy love?
I can say that I've witnessed that firsthand. What I can say is that I know, like, when the artists or different people ever anytime they came here, they were very impressed with the city. They were very entertained, and they were like, "Wow, like we never imagined that it would be the way it is." Like I often heard that like artists were impressed, like Montreal is a happening place, it's a lit place, it's got a lot of good energy, and they just assume like from the artist's mind on their stop on the itinerary, it's Toronto. They know Toronto, they know Toronto, they know Toronto, but a lot of them they weren't familiar with Montreal were very impressed and shocked when they came here. I mean, I think it was in Jay-Z when he did the was the Hard Knock Life tour. It made it into his DVD. His Montreal stop made it into his DVD with all the cities that he traveled the world. Montreal made the cut.
That's interesting.
And that was back like in '99.
I didn't even know that one time. I just read a book on Jay-Z, so the fact that he chose that's actually significant because he's mad meticulous with that shit.
Yep. Yeah.
So
that made the cut on DVD.
So something I've been like pondering about, well, the whole time I've been doing this now is, I guess, what is the aspects of Montreal that is the cool part of the export? So like, I guess how to frame it. Like, if you were gonna take it from like a more keyword approach to it, like what makes Montreal hot in these people's eyes? Because we don't necessarily see it. I have my theories about what I think makes Montreal dope, and they're highly related to hedonism. Because I feel like that's really where we excel over other places in terms of vibes. Like we're just chiller and funner, and in
You
that
know,
regard.
minus the politics. Politics aside,
Mm,
Montreal is full of personality, and it shines through. Montreal is there's a lot of character, there's a lot of personality in the city of Montreal. You feel it. Like when I used to go to Toronto for those Juno meetings, like Toronto is lit. It's the place where all the action is going on. They got the Raptors, they got this, they got Caravana, whatever. But if you just go to Toronto on a Monday night, a Tuesday night, a Wednesday night,
big
downtown
mistake.
Toronto is dead. It's like it's boring. Like there's nothing to do. I even, when I would go down there, I would hit up my DJ friends down there. I'm like, yo guys, I'm in town. It would be a Tuesday night. Okay, like what's going on tonight? They're like, dude, it's Tuesday. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, dude, it's Tuesday. Why will you expect something to be going on? I'm like, in Montreal doesn't close. There's something going on every night of the week, like till 3 o'clock in the morning. So we're the fun place. Toronto, yes, more opportunities,
It's
more
wild.
better economic, but it doesn't have the character. Montreal has a lot of character and a lot of personality.
Okay, so it's really like the fact that it is so diverse and different and busy. Like just the shit ton of restaurants and all of that shit. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I went to Toronto that like twice, and I know we tried to go out on a Tuesday night, and we didn't know anything about how boring Toronto was on a Tuesday night. But even like noticing it, like walking down the street on Yonge does not feel fancy.
Nothing at all. And it's like 7 o'clock, there's an exodus from downtown Toronto. By 6, 7 o'clock, there's an exodus because nobody lives downtown. Everybody's off to Ajax or Brampton or Scarborough or Mississauga, and the downtown is left empty. And I was looking around, just even trying to get food was difficult because everything was closing so early. Coming from Montreal, like downtown, nothing really closes. And I'm down there, and I ended up at like a pub style place and got a souvlakian naan bread. And I'm like, that's totally not acceptable. I'm like, I come from Montreal where we get good quality food. And here they gave me a souvlaki in naan bread.
Like just the look on your face, like this is just too egregious.
This is like, I grew up in Park X. Like, I know souvlaki. I grew up with Greeks all my life. It's like, this was like an insult. You're going to give me a souvlaki and naan bread. I was like, damn, Toronto.
That's like the non. It's thicker, no? Like anyway.
Yeah, but it's not authentic.
Nah, no, I hear you.
You'll never get that here.
Like it doesn't sound right. Like at first when you said it, it felt weird, and then I thought about it. Like naan has its purpose in life. No disrespect to naan,
Exactly.
but yeah, Toronto's wild. All I know is they got poutines now. They're not like the same. They're like the deluxe poutine is what they exported. Not like that's what I realized is there's not just regular poutines in Toronto. The only poutine is all the poutines.
All in one.
But like what I mean is like, cause you know how like now like a poutine used to be just like fries, gravy, and cheese, man, simple times, and then the Italian poutine spiced it up a little bit. It was a good
That was
spicing.
good.
And now it's what do you want on your poutine? And
I like the Italian one. You know what? I dabbled and tried the different ones. I like the jerk poutine. That was something that I got exposed to. The jerk poutine was really nice. It's got the chicken and got the spices to it. But for the most part, I go for the plain old regular. I like the traditional poutine. I tried a couple of different ones. I tried the Mexican poutines. I actually enjoyed I enjoyed the McDonald's poutine for a while when they had the crispy chicken and the buffalo hot sauce on it. But I kind of lost the taste for that. So I stick to the original one. Fries, gravy, curds.
so I think their poutine is like fancy as shit. It's just all the fancy poutines was my experience there. But I see what you're saying though about the vibe of the energy and personality of it, and I think that's an interesting point. Like, so like if you were to think about like sounds that are hot in Montreal right now, what would you say would be like the hottest sounds of the city?
In terms of artists,
Actually, more sounds. Like artist is cool, but like you would know a lot about genres and like more of like a top level perspective of like what people are fucking with. I'd say because of how you see it all.
Well, if you're talking about genres in Montreal, I mean, EDM it probably leads the way. Montreal is a heavy EDM city, but the hip hop is not too far behind. I mean, basically, you look at the Osheaga lineup and you could see the direction of things. The hip hop, the EDM. Montreal is big on country music, although it's not reflected in radio in any way or form. It really is like,
Interesting.
somebody open an all country station here, that shit will explode. But
are you able to open radio stations if you wanted to?
I think in Montreal right now, I've been hearing the same story for years that the CRTC won't accept another Anglo station on the FM dial. That they won't add any more Anglo stations on the FM dial. It would have to be an existing station that decides to change their format and come with something different. And the craziest thing, speaking of that, I mean, this is not a Canadian station, but they pretty much market themselves to Canada, was 94.7 Hits. That was like my main competition back in the day. And they've totally flipped the script now. One day they turned off and came back on now as a gospel station.
What?
You see that, right?
Like I knew they turned off because I saw somebody who had interned there and he posted his like last day picture, but gospel?
They turned like into a gospel station.
The same region, the same airway.
Same region, same based in, I think it's upstate Malone, New York. 94.7 Hits is now an all gospel station. It switched before 2022.
That was one of the most unexpected things to hear. That's sad. I have a lot of good memories of 94.7 because it kind of stole the show from Virgin 96, or I think it might have been Mix 96 still back then. But like, it stole the show from that, in my opinion. And then Show'em got cool, and then it got not cool, and then it got wishy-washy.
Yeah. But not 94.7, like that was, we were the urban suppliers at that time. You know what I mean? And a lot of stuff that we introduced, like then I saw down the line years later, they started doing like getting into playing Montreal music. And then they started having stuff where they would feature 2 Montreal acts. They wouldn't do a battle per se. But
I remember that.
I was like, okay, I know I'm doing something good now.
That's cool, though.
That's confirmed when another radio station is following stuff that you've done.
Yeah, so I guess, could you go on AM? Or is it worth going on AM?
I don't even think so.
Like, not.
Even though they see, AM has a monstrous reach. No, I don't think so. Like,
like nobody.
Not for me. For anybody out there that wants to do it, by all means, but no.
Yo, DJ DBSC has a good point. Every third song really was Riding Dirty or Lollipop. When Lollipop was hot, was every third song, and they really did do that shit. It was really bad.
Well, they were top 40 style. I was very blessed with the fact that I controlled the playlist. After like maybe my first few months at the station, they were like, here, they stopped giving me playlists. They're like, we trust you. You do what you think is best.
What about internet radio? Because this is where like Preach said you should look more into that, and I never really. Oh, I low key looked into it a little bit more, but I don't really look into it much. Do you think it would be worth like pursuing something like an internet radio endeavor in this time?
I mean, you would have known until you try. For me personally, it's not a route I would take just because it doesn't fit into my current schedule. I don't know, man. I think I would just, what I personally would do would probably just go the podcast route, do YouTube, continue doing the Twitch thing. I just don't have the motivation to get into doing like to do an online station, to run it myself. Like I maybe come pop in here and there, do some guest spots, but I like the avenue of creating some content and throwing it up on YouTube, and then doing the occasional live on Twitch as well.
So I was reading the comment. First heard the raw uncut version of Cartel and Spice Romping Shop on Live K103, and I'm like, I do not know what that is. I think I know what Cartel and Spice is.
Did we play it live, RC? Did we play it live, like legit live, the raw version? That might have happened.
Is that a foul version? Like I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's a very sexual song, to say the least. The Romping Shop is a very sexual place.
Did you have all the same restrictions where everything had to be like censored and stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, everything had to be restricted. Once in a blue moon, sometimes things were not fully or properly edited and they slipped through. That was the very, very rare occasion. But yeah, everything had to be fully edited and censored. Like even weed references at that time, I guess now it wouldn't be an issue. Wasn't allowed in a lot of music. But I was getting the music like that anyhow, so it's not like I had to edit it myself. So it wasn't really an issue.
Do people study?
But then I would have some artists for some reason didn't understand that they had to edit their music and give it to me. And I was like, I think a lot of what happened in the radio days was like a big learning curve for a lot of artists on how to handle radio and how to promote their product and put their product forward.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of a radio edit, I guess, like, you think about it, but you don't really think about it because you wouldn't, like, who does it? Like, you never really, like, because sometimes the radio can do it. You know, the radio sometimes changes songs all by themselves, and they do that. But, like, yeah, it makes more sense for artists to submit it, but I don't think I knew that. I know that I don't think about it now because, like, when it comes to even submitting the radio, on that front, I have to go figure out where I have to go submit things. I'm at the point where, like, I'm like, oh, shit, so, radio. Okay, people got to stop calling them radio edits. What do we want to call them? Like, what's the good term for that, Preach? That's fair. Montreal had no platforms to learn that from other than Don Smooth. Fair. Clean version, dirty version. I'll roll with that, Preach. I prefer your nomenclature. That's a better way to describe it. It still feels like a radio edit to me.
Clean and dirty, yeah. Clean and dirty cuts through. It's more clear, I guess.
It does convey the point, and then it breaks the stigma. But yeah, because, like, you limit your reach without the family friendly. And then on something else I saw is people are now just releasing the family friendly on Spotify as like a duo, so that you're not just dropping a single, you're technically dropping a little mini EP with the same song twice. And you have the clean version and you have the non-one. And I'm like, huh. And that started popping up like recently. I saw people doing this. And we're saying like the label people are doing this, not the underground ones. So I'm like, okay.
You gotta have that option. You got to remember, that people are listening. Like you said, people are popping out babies like crazy. Well, there's a huge demographic of obviously of people that have children. So right there, you're driving around in your car. The kids are in the back seat. You're not going to be playing music with maybe some people will be. I don't. You're not going to be playing music with all kind of swearing and cussing going on it. So right there, if you don't have that clean option, you're losing out on that listener. It's even like Twitch. Like I try my best to play everything as clean as possible, especially because I'm on at 3:00 in the afternoon. My kids are in the house with me. It's like, it don't sound right that, even if they know the words, they don't have to hear me playing them, right? And I know people that listen to me and their kids are with them. So I'm like, I want them to know, like, okay, when I put on Don's show, I can leave it on because I ain't got to worry about F-bombs or any bombs going off during the show. So artists, definitely, you're limiting yourself by not making a clean version. And what does it take to make a censored version? It doesn't take too hard. You do it in the studio when you record the song. It's nothing very difficult.
Nah, not even. You could technically do it yourself if you just do the mute thing. It would just be a little
not
shittier.
hard at all.
But like,
it's not hard.
But like, yeah, I learned that in because I found out of like, okay, going in a park, you're allowed to swear because Sue Montgomery of NDG, the former mayor, was like, who said you couldn't swear in a park? So I'm like, okay, well, if the mayor's telling me I can say fuck in the park, that's cool. But then the parents are still in the park and whatnot. Turns out Girard Park is a park you can say fuck in, but you can't always say fuck in the park. So that was like,
I didn't even know that was a thing.
It's more like, so you don't need a permit to show up and just rap in a park as long as you're not charging money and you're not pissing off the community. And you can get big with it in ways where you can monetize low key and not need a permit. So like you can do shit with it. Like we're going to roll this out like properly next year, like started in like April rather than September, And yeah, so it's really about relationships with the neighborhood. If like the people in the park hit me up and are like, look, we like this, but stop swearing. Like I got two choices. I can go to war with the fucking neighborhood or I can just not. Like Twitch is cool. I'm very okay. If parents choose not to listen to my stream on Twitch, that's I'm cool with it. I don't know if I can do this like without the cussing. It's just part of what this is. But that's because there are clean shows. I feel like there aren't a lot of dirty shows for this style, like I want it to be like the weed smoking, you can cuss and be inappropriate here show, so that Chrisella can drop her super polished shit.
Well, you got to be true to yourself. You know what I mean? Like that's what you represent. You be true to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, and people will gravitate and come to it because that's what you do. You know what I mean? That's you. So that's your attraction. That's your draw. Like I listen to Preach in the morning. Preach does his morning show, and it's kept very clean. And it's super entertaining. But he keeps everything clean. Like to the point where I don't even notice if he's that he's not swearing. I notice, but don't notice, if that makes sense.
I remember a very vivid rap about marijuana strains today or yesterday. I don't remember if it was today or yesterday, but he just.
Hey, shout out to Cliff Mix.
Yeah, I was about to do that too. Shout out
Toronto.
Cliff Mix. Just the point that clean versions is needed is dope. I love the little emoji guy with the fucking salute too. And shout out Jess Deja.
Shout out Jess Deja. You see, these are people that I've met since being on Twitch.
That's my only thing with reading names out on Twitch. I'm like, how do I say that shit? And then I fuck shit up all the time with the names. I'm cool with that. I apologize if I suck at your name. I'm trying.
You're not alone. And sometimes people don't make it easy either. Like sometimes it's just a combination of letters and letters and numbers.
Yeah.
But
I know.
Shout out Cliff Mix and Jess Deja.
Yeah, appreciate all you coming through. It really is just awesome to see all the new names. I find that really sustaining, the constant like energies, because I feel like it's weird, but people's writing styles have energies attached to them, and if you know how to look for it, you can almost feel how people present themselves through their chat.
100%.
I don't think it's like the real deal person. It's like that internet version, but like, you know, you still get a sense of who they are, and I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And like the more,
like I said, that goes back to what we started off on, and you asked me like, how do I read, you know, to know what people are feeling or vibing on? You can get people's energy through the chat, and I really feel people's energy in the chat, and that's, you know, how I know to direct myself.
Yeah. I definitely run with that. I like it when I get chastised and I'm doing something dumb or something, or like when they're like, Holden, or like you did it this time because you heard it, your sound sounds like ass, and I'm like, bad, because sometimes like I don't know, you forget to switch the thing or the one knob's off and you don't hear it proper on your side, and you just gotta have a little faith.
Listen,
sometimes
people have no idea. Like I said, I've been doing this for the majority of my life. There's so much work as a DJ that goes, I'm sure you as well, that goes into just turning on the camera and getting on Twitch. And there's so many things that you got to go through. I've gone on several times and there's no audio, but luckily, you know what, my mods are on top of stuff. And they're like, Don, there's no sound. They're like, they let me know right away. Oh, I forgot to click that box. I rebooted everything, forgot to click the audio box, and you go on live. But there's so many elements, so many things that you got to think of. Whereas before, I picked up my bag and I went to the club and that was it. Plugged in and I played.
Like speaking
so
of,
people out there, the DJs put in a lot of work for you guys on Twitch.
I feel like, especially with the streaming, like I just remembered, I forgot to put the apostrophe sign links for the fucking command that will pull your stream. Like there's so many. That's why I'm trying to get my organization game on, because like to me it's like I see where I want it to be, I see where it is. And at like every step, it's Google, and then it's more Google, and then it's more Google, and then you're like, I'm like watching people pull up clips of channels now, and I'm like, I'm not pulling up clips of channels. Now I know there's some fucking stream elements or this or that configuration bullshit, fucking next widget, blah blah bloop, because it's all. I think in this case, it's all the same for us now.
And it's going to be never ending. There's always going to be something new that you could add to the stream and whatnot. But it's really like, as someone I DJ'd on, I went from a bedroom DJ to the church basement DJ to the club DJ to the radio DJ. Twitch is it's a lot of work. People come off and they make it look good, they make it look smooth, but a lot goes into it just before you turn on that camera. But I do it, for me, it's the challenge that has kept me into it and interested into it.
Do you have any interest in being a VR DJ?
Like I said, I say no to no opportunities until I try it. It's never crossed my mind. I'm not even too sure how that would work or what that would entail.
I mean, the metaverse is going to be spaces, and imagine if we was doing this as avatars and we could just see them. And we could see their little hands moving and shit, and the little of their emojis. That's the current one that exists that I can think of and picture. Facebook has one. My shit doesn't work with their shit. I have a PS4 and a PS5 world as far as the fucking VRs are concerned, so I had to upgrade or suffer.
Okay.
But like in theory, where it's going, you get like a programmer and it like starts syncing shit. So instead of it being like the cues you would line up in OBS, now it's like fucking super deep 3D immersive holodeck shit.
Wow.
And like I would say it's in the corny looking phase, but like not that corny. And like when you're actually wearing it, like it's corny when you're watching it on YouTube. It's kind of like when you're there. Like I went to a club in VR one time. I didn't do it again because like I don't know. I actually do have a lot of trouble getting into the whole concepts of VR as much as I preach this shit, because I find it's kind of like wildly like people aren't there, and like without it being social, I'm less interested. But like I went to a club and I danced with avatars, and
Wow.
you see that, and I was going there like, yo, say word, there's like 80 people in this room right now, and you can set up rooms where like you could put your advertising on the walls. So now your Discord, your this, your that, it's all on the walls and shit. You can sell fucking merch in this future world I'm picturing. So instead of having to deal, because getting merch made is miserable. So instead of doing that, I just picture the shit, talk to a designer, and we sell it for $2 to an avatar.
My God. Yeah, that's light years ahead. I would have to see what that looks like to imagine that. That has never crossed my mind. Sounds like something very interesting. I say no to anything because in the past, I remember like I was doing YouTube. I was recording sets at the radio station. Like when I would do my Monster Mix Live, I was recording them for YouTube. They're still there. Like, I don't know, they're done maybe in 2009. And I was like, oh, okay, it's cool. It's a little side thing. But, you know, look what it had become. Look what it has become today. And even like I used to do Justin TV and Ustream, which is essentially Twitch now. So I imagine, I was like, I always think sometimes in hindsight, had I looked at it and put more energy into it, what it could have become now in 2021.
And anytime people say that, I'm going to tell you something. I tried to be that early adopter guy with VR. It's 2 years later I've been preaching. Nobody.
And it hasn't gotten there yet?
Nah, not really. I mean, it's a lot easier to have a chat like this now. I sound smarter, so like I can sell it better, but also Facebook's shoving it down your throat. They're doing the work for me. Y'all know it's coming, so like people are more curious. Whereas 2 years ago, even in the beginning of the pandemic, the plausibility that like Facebook was going to turn a metaverse and that celebrities were going to buy NFT properties and house, like nobody saw that coming. I just know that Second Life made billions of dollars on loneliness, and VR was clearly going to make billions of dollars on loneliness. And that was an opportunity. YouTube made billions of dollars on loneliness. Like, that's just kind of what content does. And I mean, this is maybe like dark wave spinning it, but like, I was that kid that hung out in the chat spaces that would ultimately grow into VR spaces when I was 14 and nobody liked me and shit. So like, as much as it's like super like scary to a lot of people, it's actually going to help a lot of people get through a lot of shit when they like nobody likes them type shit. Like there's a whole other live out there. That's what Tumblr is. That Tumblr crowd and shit.
I just hope that people don't become too detached. I just really hope that, I don't even know if that's avoidable, but I really hope that people don't become too detached, because like it's gonna stick in the back of my mind that you told me about the guys that went freestyle in front of people. Like I kind of get that, but I'm like, it's like an oxymoron. How are you gonna be a rapper and you don't want to rap in front of people? And I'm like, I was like, wow, that can't exist. Like something has to be done about that.
I think people are comfortable doing their songs. I was not comfortable freestyling in front of people for a very long time. It wasn't until I discovered.
Okay, fine. Okay, so you're saying that they were not comfortable freestyling, but if it came time to step, if they had to do their own bars, they were okay with that.
I believe they would be. I think a lot of people haven't been put to the test yet, but in particular, we were discussing freestyling at that point. But to the point, what I realized is it's pretty fucking hard to navigate the hip hop culture, because that's kind of what you're playing in if you're a rapper, whether or not you like it. You're in the culture, the general sphere of it. and not be put into positions where you got to go off the dome. And it's like, you may not know it, but it's at like 2 a.m. at the bar when you're hanging out with the rappers after that it matters. Way like that's really when I wish I had been dropping bars. My career would have gone differently. I wasn't. I could do songs. I could crush it. I probably sometimes had the best set of the night multiple times over. But when it came down to rapping with people outside, nah, I was not. Like, I was a shit freestyler. Even now, I think my freestyles are like mediocre, but I'm fucking interesting, so I can sell my mediocrity.
Well, that's what's up. Like, there's no right or wrong way. It's your way and how you portray it and how you put it forward, how you sell it.
You know what I mean? And as I got more confident with it, it sounds better, and I believe that. But like, yeah, freestyling as a thing, it's like, man, I feel like people are too shy for that. But for their own songs, I don't know. I think a lot of people perform with their back vocals now, and I'm also.
I cannot stand that.
Maybe
like,
I'm like, I don't know, man. I
singer,
never did it. I never did it one time. Like, I have my chorus because I got told, make sure your chorus is at half volume. Sometimes you might want to interact with the crowd or the chorus. And I said that was logical. I keep my doubles because they're on the fucking whatever. It's doubles and shit. But like, and the ad libs. But nah, I've fucked up. I've like gone 4 bars of that, and you praying you're going to remember it when it comes back around, and you're staring at people like, and then I did every time. I always pulled it back. But like,
okay,
you never forget those. Those are the longest 4 bars of a fucking performance.
No, the rapping with the backtrack, I don't understand it. I'll give it for a singer, I can get it, but for a rapper, you got to come out there and be able to spit your lyrics. I want to hear your voice. I hear the CD at home. I hear the CD in the car. I want to hear you. When I'm there at the live show, I want to hear your voice. The chorus, okay, it's chorus, ad libs, whatever. But I want to hear you raw. Like, you hear Preach in the Morning, that's raw. He comes in and he's going. Like, I just want to hear. I want to hear your voice, the tone of your voice, everything.
So I do not know if everyone would do that. I participated in a virtual concert series. Why? Because I was like, well, this is in line with my vision of the future. I should play ball. And I came in there with my fucking microphone and I rapped. And it was like, yo, I kept the fuck ups and shit. I don't have time to do like a 20-minute set 8 times. It's just what it is. But I wanted it to be like unedited, uncut. Like, it's a live show virtually, you know? Like, I'm not going to fuck around with the integrity of that. Everybody else submitted edited, polished music video type shit. I mean, even my boys, it was like they went to the stew with the engineer, and I'm like, oh. And I thought I was so out of place. It turned out the promoters really fucked with what I did. But like, sounds like what I've been telling a certain someone who's being interviewed. We just want to hear your voice. Yo, Preach is like gonna come in every opportunity, eh? Like, he's not gonna let it go. Also, I'm like low key enjoying your snowplow conversation. I just don't know how to contribute to it because I have the landlord that deals with the snow here, and I don't, so I don't know what to say about snow plowing. But respect.
I made 2 runs today, but yeah, at least it's not as bad as we thought it was gonna be. Be okay.
You snow plowed today? Twice?
I doubled twice today, yeah.
Gosh.
But it's not as bad as they were predicting it was going to be, at least for me.
That sounds super unpleasant. But yeah, I definitely think that people are submitting this like really polished world because of like shit like TikTok and whatnot. And I don't know. I don't get why everyone's like mad insecure about sounding whatever, but like everybody at the show fucked up at every time a little bit. Not like who's flawless. It's not why you go to, even like, I'm talking like, I've never been to a show. I've seen celebrities flat out fuck up bars, and like, I'm talking mostly rock singers and shit, but like fuck up entirely, and then whatever, and nobody cared. So it's like, why do we care?
Look at you don't draw attention to it. You just keep on going. You know what I mean? Beyonce, one of the biggest stars in the world. We all seen that footage when she came down the stairs and she fell. She popped back up and just kept on singing like nothing happened. Of course, yeah, there was videos of it, but that died down real quick because it was about her recovery. She didn't let that interfere with nothing. If you show you made a mistake, then everyone else is going to be focused on it. But she got up like, okay, I slipped, I fell, popped back up and kept on going. I remember my program director had told me years ago, a piece of advice she'd given me. She's like, never let the people see what's going on behind the curtain. You make a mistake, keep going, move on. Don't acknowledge. They said, the things go by so fast, the audience, you made a mistake, but the audience won't know that wasn't supposed to happen. And it just goes. Just keep going.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Like that's basically what I try to do with everything, especially once you go live for hours. You're probably gonna fuck up. Like you're just probably going to. You're gonna say some dumb shit here and there. Like it's impossible not to. That's what editors are for. Like that's what you're doing on. That's like, I've seen some shit where like people wildly be like, yo, I gotta go do chores in the middle, like go do laundry in the middle of an interview. And those are the hottest times. Like when I'm saying like, yo, people wildly almost like it when weird shit happens and then everything comes back together. Like I don't know why, but I feel like the audience super enjoys that. Not necessarily me rambling all the time. I'm not saying that part, but I'm saying when abstractly weird shit happens. The one thing this interview show taught me is people like regular shit. Like everybody just likes the most regular shit ever. I think celebrity worship is like on this super down and out, and people are like kind of tired of it, and that people like regular in a way that I think that's why guys like preach. He's just so like regular. Not to say he's not. He's an exceptional human, but like his whole brand is so like you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean by regular. Approachable. That was a better word because regular kind of sounds diminishing, but approachable.
Yeah.
With like the ability to replicate it if you set out to choose to go on that adventure.
Oh, and he could do it. He's a talented guy, so for sure.
But like, yeah, so like in terms of like what are some of your favorite parts, I guess, of being the 103 radio show? Because you said you didn't want to go back to that part of your life in terms of it being the past. But what are some of like the highlights of it?
The highlights of my radio years really and truly was the connections I made. I learned so much more about my city. Like, you know, I grew up in Park Extension. I lived in LaSalle. I'm in the West Island now, but I had an incredible network where I met so many people from around the city, people that I would have not met had I not done that show. Like I was always a DJ playing hit music in clubs and parties. And all of a sudden now I'm a radio announcer, radio host playing local people's music. And I started to, you know, the scene started to build and I started getting, I was invested in it. And then I saw the potential and guys like rest in peace, Matt Dutch Garner from Escape MTL, and Nick Fury. And then, you know, we said, let's take this from the radio now to the venues. And we started doing live shows and we started seeing people showing up to watch all local talent. And the energy was like, it was like an all-time high. I think for the live entertainment, it had peaked in like 2010. It was like an all-time high. And you had people from all around the city that normally wouldn't have got together, but they were coming together peacefully because of this. Like they believed in it and they supported it. So one of my highlights is to know that I was a part of that scene. I contributed to that. Couple of years ago, I did an interview with All the Way Live. Those are some dope dudes, Pro V, that do a show here on CKUT. And Louise contacted me, and she enjoyed the interview so much. She's like, Don, I'm gonna put the MP3 or whatever the format she put it on. She's like, I'm gonna put that in the CKUT time capsule. So even though I was on the neighboring station, I was on another station now. Like I've been added to CKUT's history. She's like, I'm gonna include your interview in there. In the time capsule. So the people, the highlights for me, meeting so many people from my city, getting to see what my city could do musically. Like they really impressed me musically and with videos. And then, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like being with the radio is like I got to meet some of, you know, amazing people and icons. Like I said, Gregory Isaacs earlier and different people along the way. It's like I sit down sometimes and I'll be watching the Grammys or whatever the award show is. And I'm like, shit, like, I'll be like, man, I remember that time I was sitting down in the hotel lobby talking to Common, or I was like, I have memories. Those are my highlights, the interactions and a lot of the people that I met. I met some super cool people along the way. And I'm very grateful for that. That was amazing. You know, as a music fan, to get to have met some of my idols and my icons along the way and just kick it with them, like the way you were talking now. Because, you know, when you catch them behind scenes, then you just see like you're talking like it's just regular shit. They end up talking on some real life shit. Like we would do the interview, but then I would sit back and I would still be there talking to them. And you'd be like, damn, you would never imagine some of the conversations that would come out of it. And I'll be like, you know, you got to see the artist and even respect them even more after that. Like,
that's wild. Like, I guess it's like, you only ever see the polished interview, and I've come to see
Exactly.
in a lot of cases people like to put on a little character, especially at that level. And it's not necessarily some fake shit. I just imagine that like you can't really expose yourself like that to the world if you're like as well known as Common. There's got to be like a degree of separation between who's in the interview and the private behind the scenes stuff. But like it's kind of like comforting in a sense to see how regular a lot of the people are when the cameras are off
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. I find that like it's just every time I hear somebody be like, yeah, no, everybody also cares about the regular shit. It's just like cool. Like, you know, it's like you there's not that much that differentiates us from different things. Like, well,
No.
life is just a lot about circumstances, opportunities, but like I don't know. I haven't talked to like everybody I talk to just makes me feel like okay, cool. Like everybody can just be shit if they apply themselves properly and like
Well, I saw a video clip just yesterday actually, and it was a clip with Jay-Z, and it was like in his early days. It was probably in the late '90s, and he's like, there's no chosen ones. He's like, I don't believe that there's any chosen ones. He's like, everybody has a genius level of talent. They just have to figure out what it is and tap into it. And I was like, wow, that was real motivating. I was like, I like that. And he's like, you just have to tap into it. You got to put work into it. It's not going to fall in your lap. But he's like, everybody has a genius level of talent. You just got to tap into it. And I believe that.
I think so
I
too.
definitely.
I mean, I read that Malcolm Gladwell book with the 10,000 hours, and I was like, that's
Mm.
wild. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, it probably makes sense. I mean, I don't think it's like a hard fact that 10,000 hours are going to make you famous,
Will make you a master. Yeah.
but like, something's gonna happen if you put 10,000 hours into anything along the way. And yo, I looked at my Twitch analytics last year, and I'm gonna say last year was fucking insane for my schedule for Twitch. I don't know how Preach does it, but like insane. But like, it was about 1,200 hours that I streamed. So imagine 10,000 hours, how long that really is. I
Yeah.
was like, that's that shit that makes me feel humbled is when you consider like when somebody's clocked 10,000 hours by the time they're 14 or some shit like that. And there's some, especially like in music, like the church group, like the ones who came up through church singing and shit. Some of them be got
Mm-hmm.
like full on show production performance experience, 10K hours clocked out by the time they're 9.
Before the age of 10. Yeah.
And then they come
Yeah.
through and they're like, I don't find they hustle maybe as hard as they should sometimes. The ones that do though, holy shit, they're all successful. There's not one in them, and it's like they're at like 30,000 hours of. Look at Preach. Preach is another example of like what, how many hours has this guy rapped and done his thing live, and you see it in his presentation. You see it in everything. That's what I see in people is like the level of effort and grit and sacrifice and whatnot.
Yeah, and people will see it, right? Like people know when you're giving it 100, or if you're gonna half-ass it. People will see that and they'll feel it in your energy. You know what I mean? You got to come through, and if you're gonna show up and do it, then do it. Do it like 100%. You might not feel like doing it all the time, but do it. Give it 100% always. That's crucial because you never know who's there. You never know who's watching. When I was doing my radio show, I was like, I studied all the other stations, and I was like, okay, this is the lane I'm gonna go. This is what I'm gonna do. And I remember it was like 2005. I think it was around 2005. I get a phone call. Hi, this is so and so. I represent Sean John Canada. We're getting ready to launch, and we're gonna do 2 meets. We're gonna launch in Montreal, and we're gonna launch in Toronto. This is when Sean John was a hot brand, and
That's
they
Puff
were
Daddy.
introducing.
That's Diddy's line. I don't remember
Hey,
who. I don't remember who.
that was Diddy's line.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was Diddy. That's his name, Sean John. Sean John was the middle name. So this came off of the strength of one of the employees that represent Sean John Canada used to listen to my show, and I got the invitation to go to the launch based on that. So I always keep in my mind. I mean, even before that, always give 100%. You never know who's in the room, who's watching, whether it's 5 people or 5,000 people. You always give it your all because you never know who's watching you or listening to what you're doing. And here I am. I would never think in a million years that I'm here on Ganawagi radio station in Montreal, and somebody from Sean John has been listening to my show. And then it led to, getting the invite.
Yeah, that is a big interesting too. That's a big knowledge nugget. You never know who's watching. I burned a lot of bridges on the opposite end of that story. But also, I've gained things. It's not like one thing. A lot of people, you never know who's watching, and like,
Nikki G remembers.
yeah, but like in a sense of like, sometimes the weirdest people at the weirdest times will reference the weirdest shit you've posted or said or done. And like, if you really watch for it, like, people would never tell you they're watching, really. You probably have like 10 times the number of fans you think you do, but like, people don't show it at all.
And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, I really, for some reason, during the pandemic is when a lot of people have come out, or I reconnected with people that I haven't spoken to in many years. Shout out my guy DJ DiBiase, who told, used to come and buy records. I'm like, so many people, they started coming, hey, I was Don Smooth. I remember I used to come buy records from you. Or I remember you from the radio. And I'm like, wow, like it's humbling. And it feels great to know that I impacted people to the point that 10, 15 years later, they still remember our encounters and what it was all about. Like, it stuck with them.
Yeah, you're definitely one of those guys that I don't see a lot of people forgetting after an encounter. You just, like, even the last time, I don't think there's a person who said my name as many times as you said my name in the last interview.
Wow.
Like, you came in, you're like, Holden, blah, blah. And I'm like, I thought about it after, and sometimes, like, you subconsciously watch for shit. And then you realize it, oh, wow, like, people, no, that's different. Like, you got, like, a presence to it. Like, a whole character, like, a charisma. You're real charismatic.
But you see, now we've been speaking tonight. Now that we've gotten beyond that, and we don't even, where I'm not even referring to you as Holden now, because I guess we've gone past that.
Yeah, but on that like first impression tip though, like it really stuck. It was really noticeable, and it's like those little things I think that people notice after the fact that like they wouldn't, where like it creates an experience where they remember you, and I get it.
Well, now that we're here, and I've been looking at the chat, and T-Locks, you're right. Yeah, I'm working on the 2020 vision. Cliff Mix this year, because usually, when I do the Twitch thing, I'm playing music. We come down, we interact here, there. DiBiase, if anyone in the chat, I didn't get a chance to ask, if anybody in the chat, if there's anything you want to touch on or ask about, or I know Preach wants to bring back radio down. We got that.
I was supposed to say that before Preach criticizes me, which is fair point. I usually like to bring it up at a certain point, but Don beat me to it because he's doing what he does, and sometimes you just gotta let a man do what he does,
Yeah. So if there's anyone, and shout out to DiBiase, by the way, like DiBiase MTL, a guy that he's really into that authentic boom bap rap. Does a great stream called Woo Wednesdays each and every Wednesday. That is absolutely fire.
Yo, I'm gonna
something I think you'd enjoy it.
I'm definitely gonna let the people know. I know a lot of people that fucks with that shit though. Like most of my rapper friends, that's what they're into. Like they would fuck with your stream. That's what I'm hearing. And I'm trying to get them on Twitch. That's my mission. So we gotta just.
I am being a guest. I'm being a guest, Preach.
Nah, he's doing his thing. Listen, you got in my experience with Twitch is you have to let your guests be comfortable. That's the most important part. So if it was going to make Don Smooth happy to come in and interact with his people, and I've noticed people only ever do it with their people. He's not going to go greet everybody in the chat. He's greeting his people in the chat, and he's interacting with them directly. Like, he's giving big shout outs to his core audience for coming through. How am I going to get in the way of that? That's just beautiful to see happen.
Oh, yeah, man, they took the time on a Monday, took time away from shoveling out and digging out the snow to pop in here and hang out with us. It's great. But as you mentioned, yes, and that's an interview tactic that goes a long way. Because you never know when you're going to meet the artist, what the artist is going to be like, what kind of mood they're in. They've done 10, 15 interviews that day. They've been asked the same question 20 times. So you really breaking the ice with them and getting them out of, because some of them will just have that wall up and go through the motions of an interview, and they get bored with it. It gets tedious. So sometimes, and you could break that ice, get a laugh out of them, get a different reaction out of them. Then you don't get the generic interview and the generic responses from them. Like, I remember I went to interview, Big Sean had come to town. I don't remember the name of the tour. Big Sean had come to town. I get there, the usual thing. The label gives you a call. Big Sean's in town. We have a window. You could go and interview him. You got 15 minutes, blah, blah, blah. So as the usual, you go there, you're sitting down, you're waiting outside. And it's something, I'm not promoting this and telling people to do this. I rarely ever wrote anything down. Like, I would always go in off the top. I tried not to be scripted. I'm not saying that's the best way, but it worked for me.
I'm like, yeah, it works until it doesn't, and then it works again.
Yeah, it worked for me. So I walk in the room. It's Big Sean and his boys, his entourage, and they're cracking up and they're laughing. And I come in and I don't even know if they noticed that I came into the room. So I come inside the room. Then after they see me, Big Sean turns around like I walked in on a joke. Like they're cracking up, they're laughing, whatever. He turns to me, he's like, what do you prefer? Nipples, what's more important, or what do you prefer? Titties or nipples? And like, imagine now you're coming in to interview somebody, you're not expecting that. So I tell you, sometimes things just happen, by nature. I was like, well, without nipples, titties would be pointless. They bust out laughing. They went crazy. Big Sean went and tweeted it. I wish I got some credit for it. He went and tweeted that. He's like, well, titties without nipples would be pointless. And from there, it was like, it was just like, all right, let's sit down and talk. And it was like a super dope interview. And he talked about his lifestyle. I found out that he was vegan and he was very into health. And it was like, he gave me a different side of him. He bust out laughing. His whole crew was like, okay, sit down, brother. Let's chat. And then it wasn't like, I wasn't on a schedule no more. It was like, sit down and you can have the time you want.
That's wild. I'm just, because that sounds like some shit he used as a bar one day. I'm not going to lie.
The man took my line and tweeted it while I was there. Said titties without nipples would be pointless. I probably had like 20,000 hits within seconds. I was like, wow. But then he just sat down with me and it was like, no rush. Take your time. We'll talk.
I'm just wild. He ghost wrote a Big Sean tweet that hit off. That's like, that's one of those things you just don't expect a person to say, but it still makes sense when when you say it. It makes sense. That seems like a thing that would happen. You've got that.
That changed the dynamics of the room. It was just like, okay, cool.
Do you have other like interesting anecdotes about interview peoples and stuff?
I'll give you maybe one or two more, because now that we're gonna start doing this on Twitch, I can't give them all away.
Yeah, of course not.
So well, one that I would give, and the main reason for giving it is an example of how not letting fear get in the way. Like, don't let fear get in the way of you. So since I brought it, I started on it already. So I had gotten called for invited to the launch for Sean John. So I get a call. They're like, we hear you on the radio. We know you represent Urban. We think you belong at this launch event as media. No problem. So I get invited as media. He was staying at the Sofitel, swanky hotel downtown, of course. And I get there now. So I'm on the list, but they're going in the rankings of the Virgins and the Q92s, I think, at the time, and whatever. So it's trickling down. Even CJD was on the media list. I was like, what does CJ have to do? But whatever. It's Diddy, right? He's on that sphere. It gets down now. I was probably second or third to last on the list. It's like, oh, Diddy's done with the day. Sorry, your interview's canceled. He's not going to see you. And I'm like this I prepared for. Like, I had questions. I was like, are you serious? Like, I felt like they're like, no, Diddy's done for the day. He's not going to see you. All the interviews are done. Diddy doesn't feel like doing it anymore. Doesn't feel like doing anymore. So I'm like, man, I'm the dude that's playing. Like, who else is playing Diddy's music here out on the radio? But I understand Diddy's what is bigger than music. So, but they turned around. They said, okay, but what we can do for you here's an invitation. You can come to Music Plus Studios and watch. He's going to do an interview there. You could come and be a part of the audience. Some people might have felt away and been like, F that. I'm done with that. I'm going home. Felt away. I was like, you know what? No. Okay. I saw that as an opportunity. Nikki G and myself ran down there. Nikki G's my wife, obviously.
Okay. That wasn't obvious to me.
Well, my people in here know. So so I'm like, okay, like, let's do this. All right. It's an opportunity. So we go down to Music Plus. We were the first ones there. Like, I don't even know. Let's say it was starting at 3:00. I was there at 2:00. I was like, I don't care. I'm going to stay there. We stood there at the front of the door. So boom, we get in. I made sure to go to the front row. And luckily, I picked the right side. I picked the right side to be on. So now the show's going on. Diddy shows up. He's being interviewed by Music Plus. It's going really well. So I noticed when he comes off set, he's walking right in front of me. He has to go past me to go over to his handlers, because like Diddy had somebody that holds his phone, that holds his water. One person combs his hair and all of that. So yeah, I was like, okay, this is like $600 million status. Like legit, he had somebody every commercial break. A guy ran out and combed his hair, touched up his goatee, whatever. And there's a girl on the side that her job, she holds the phone and the water. He comes off, you look at his phone, give it back to her, drink some water, give it back to her. So
wow.
I noticed
like, this is a real thing in life, but like when you encounter it, you're like you're even hearing about it, you're like, damn, man, how do you get that
like
job?
At this point, that was the biggest performer I'd ever encountered. I encountered like many. It wasn't my first interview. Like I'd interviewed a ton of people at this point, but this was the first time it was like, it's Diddy at this level. So he walked past us and I turned to Nicky. I was like, man, when he passes here again, I got to get his attention. I got to get his attention. So I'm thinking about it, because I'm just thinking like, I'm here. This is an opportunity. If you get shot down, you get shot down, but it would kill me to go home and not know. So whatever, he passes again. And I don't even know how we made some kind of eye contact or what. He was passing by and I got his attention. And I said, listen, man, I know you're mad busy. I'm a radio guy out here, the urban guy out here. I would just like, 5-10 minutes of your time. He's like, all right, man, cool. He was cool about it. And I was like, all right. Walks off again, comes back on, does his show. So I'm thinking, all right, cool. He's like, yeah, I'll give you like 5-10 minutes, whatever. Finishes recording the show now. So now he leaves, and like when Diddy walks around the room, it's like there's emotion, there's security, it's like a mob when he moves from A to B. So he leaves now, and he goes up the stairs at Music Plus. Of course, everybody in the audience is running behind him. That's normal. So I'm going now because he told me, yeah, I could give you some time. So as soon as I get to the stairs now, security has locked it all off completely. Like whoever got through, whoever had media passes, they got through, whatever. So I was like, no, I said, I'm supposed to pass through. Diddy told me I could come for an interview. So he's probably looking at me like, yeah, you and the other 200 people here. And I was like, serious. Like I said, Diddy told me I could come and get an interview. I'm a radio guy. Diddy told me I could come get an interview when everything was done. They're not hearing me at all. Like the security just made a wall. They're just standing up. But Nicky G and I, we stayed there. Within, I don't even know if a minute went by. Big dude comes downstairs, like the typical, like probably a 6'3", 300 pounds, all black. He comes downstairs. He's like, yo, who's the radio guy? I was like, I'm the radio guy. He's like, yo, let the radio guy in. I was like, Diddy sent his security to come and get the radio guy. I was like, so it was like the parting of the Red Sea now. So Diddy's security comes and takes me. Music Plus' security was cutting me off. But Diddy's security comes now. Of course, they override everybody. So Diddy's security comes, says, yo, Diddy said, bring the radio guy. We get upstairs now. And I thought there was a lot of people downstairs. There's still another 50 to 75 people upstairs waiting to get
his
to
people or like media people.
Other media people and stuff like that.
Right.
So here I am now. Even the Sean John people were in line that had contacted me, that invited me. And I'm walking past them. Here I am now being escorted by Diddy's people. Like I said, I'm walking past all the other radio stations. I'm walking past even the Sean John people. So they bring me directly to Diddy in the green room. He's just sitting back, chilling. He was like, yo, man. He's like, we could do this interview. And he was just kicking back, and he was just chill about the whole thing. And what I was saying when we lost the signal was that I never really got starstruck with any of the entertainers or people that I met over the years, because I knew that would get in the way of the interview. So I really trained myself to just be like, yo, this is a person just like you. They bleed just like you, whatever, and just approach it like that. Otherwise, I would be overwhelmed, and I think it would ruin things. And that's why I never really wrote anything down, because I wanted to make it conversational. Anyhow, so we get in, me and him are going back and forth. We're talking. He's super cool, like no rush or nothing. There's still like 75 people outside in the hallway waiting on him. He's taking his time with me, and we're talking or whatever. His people are in there, whatever. And as I was mentioning when we got cut, was that in that moment, that was the most starstruck I probably got, because of the magnitude of Diddy and the history. And for some reason, I just saw Biggie and the Hypnotized video. When I was talking to him, I was talking and interviewing him, but all I was hearing was Biggie Canch. All I was hearing was Hypnotized in my head. But he was super cool. He interviewed, gave me drops for the radio station. So I'm thinking, fantastic. This is great. Like, wow. Like, what? How does it get better than this? Nikki G and we leave. I go home now, and Nikki G would laugh, and I was like, man, why didn't you like try to pitch this guy to be like a tour DJ or something? Like, I'm like, damn, I had Diddy in front of me, and I didn't try to pitch him for a job, but you know, whatever. He gets pitched all the time, so that would be nothing new. So next day, I swear, if it was not the next day, within 2 days, I get a phone call from Sean John. They're like, we'd like you to come into the office. We'd like to meet with you. And I was like, all right, cool. Sean John calls you. You go to the office. They're like, we don't know what you did, but the fact that you got access, you figured out a way, you got access to Diddy, we want to give you a full sponsorship. Sean John turned around, and for the next 8-9 years, I never paid for a shoe, a shirt, a jacket. They gave me full sponsorship. I used to go once or twice a month, go in a spot and just pick up clothes. And I was like, it was a beautiful experience. So all of that came from what was started off as a no turned into like a huge, huge thing. Just because I didn't give up on the opportunity.
Only men's clothes.
Hey, that's not true, Nikki G, because they were also doing House of Darion for a short time. So she got some of Beyonce's stuff. Nikki, you got some House of Darion stuff too.
8-9 years, a little bit.
You know what I mean?
That's wild. Still, that's a cool story, and it is one of those moments where if you had reacted emotionally when the ticket was offered to you in that moment when you got snubbed, you wouldn't have ended up getting a 9 years shot. That's a lot of free clothes.
Dude, I still have clothes with tags on it.
That's another stream. Like, you think not, but bro, just like throw on Vice or one of these other not Vice, but one of these other channels that does variety, like the one that 2 Chainz is on. It might be Vice, I don't know. And like, watch what these guys do, and it's like, yo, this is my closet, and inside of my closet, I have this. And you kind of tie it into the lore of Don Smooth with that, like, story. Boom. Pull out the closet every episode, a little thing.
Yeah. I know that 2 Chainz you're talking about, where it's like, it's all like his expensive shit. Like he reviews all kind of outrageous rich things.
Yeah. But it's not just him. Like, there's a lot of varieties of that thing now, where I know, like, people are really into shoes and vintage clothes. Especially vintage. I assume a lot of this Sean John shit would now be called vintage. I'm going to assume.
Yeah, for sure. Like, they like how our relationship ended was they ended up leaving Canada. They came out of Canada, so then that stopped. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of it would be retro and vintage. Just a lot of stuff from the early 2000s, mid 2000s.
Yeah, like DJ DiBiase saying, eBay that shit, but before you eBay that shit, make content with that shit so you double up and get the YouTube ad money first.
Noted, DiBiase. Thank you, DiBiase. Well noted.
Because, like, I mean, yeah, Bonnie, we in our 30s now. It's not like we young. I know we're not old. I've been chastised for saying I'm old, but the kids make me not feel young. That's where I'm at in life.
Well, there's always going to be someone younger and somebody older.
Shit, I wonder if you could sell shoes as an NFT. Or clothes as an NFT. There's got to be a way to do it, because like you can sell physical items via NFTs. Like, some of the artists were selling physical albums and vinyls and shit via NFT back in like the early day before all the weird shit started.
Something to think about. I got a lot of vinyl if people want to buy it.
Yo, there's some shit happening where they're trying to make NFTs that effectively function as vinyls. And I don't know about it. Like, you got to understand. I don't know if you're ever on Twitter and the rooms happen. And you
No, I haven't. No.
They stole the Clubhouse thing and they put it into Twitter, and it notifies me randomly for shit I usually don't care about. But this one time I walked in the room, and the next thing I know, this dude from Montreal is pitching these next dudes in the crypto game on some white paper shit. So once they say white paper, I'm like, I'm not going to follow this. But the gist of it is they're looking into how to, it looks like, recreate the RCIAA via NFTs. tracking
Okay.
streams via crypto or NFT. It was like a wild top level conversation I didn't really follow that well. So there's a lot of potential in this NFT market, or as I learn more about it, I think there's a lot of assets because I think a lot of people are going to like the metaverse because I want to go play in the metaverse. So why wouldn't other people want to go play in the metaverse?
I'm sure many will, for sure. It's inevitable.
Which makes NFTs valuable. They're not valuable in real life. They're valuable in the metaverse.
The metaverse.
And
We're all going to be in the...
And the metaverse will have value because for all the people that hate it, like, yo, I'm already like excited for it. I've been excited enough for years. Ever since Star Trek, I was excited for the metaverse. So it's like, yeah, NFTs are fucking interesting. Like, imagine that though. You could sell like a physical shoe and attach it to a graphical or a clothing item, attach it to a graphical representation of the clothing item, and now
that's insane.
Yo,
Man,
that's a real.
I wish I kept my Jordans.
That's a real thing that could be done. I don't know how, but if you can imagine that, and Gap is putting out their own line of NFT clothing, or Nike, or whoever it was, and you kept all your vinyl. That was a question from DJ DiBiase.
Yeah, man, I was never able to throw out a record. I don't know what it was. Like, even if I got records, I was in record pools. I got tons and tons of vinyl, but it was just something that I couldn't physically put in the garbage. Like, I never saw a record as garbage. So I just found a place for it. I had my crates that, were not going to get used, but I just never threw anything away. So yeah, DiBiase, to answer your question, I have all of my vinyl. Like, I never sold any of it. Kind of wish I did. Back in the day, I had got a good offer for it. If that offer came around again, I probably would have taken it. But I got all my vinyl. Shout out to DiBiase. He plays on vinyl too. And that's a whole nother beast right there.
Preach has a really good question. Where is this vinyl stored?
In LaSalle. You're too close to it, Preach. Yeah, no, all the vinyl is at my mother's place in LaSalle.
How much is a lot of it? Like, cause you did it for a long time. Is it like one of those movie scenes where you walk in and it's like a shelf full of vinyl everywhere?
I don't know an exact number, but I would say between 7,000 and 10,000 vinyl.
Wow, that was a bigger number. That's actually that's a lot. A mini record store.
And imagine I was offered $1 of vinyl, and I was like, nah. I was like, I didn't even contemplate it. Like, it was an instant no. This was many years ago.
Honestly, vinyls be selling like $20 to $50 now. Vinyls be hella pricey. They're not cheap. You kept them was the smart choice.
I kept them. They meant too much to me.
Honestly, if you really wanted to go down that road, if you cherry picked your collection, instead of selling it at $1 for, you probably have 10, 15 vinyls that'll cover the rest.
Well, yeah, because I went outside of just the stuff that I played in the clubs. Like, I was really a record collector. And I used to go down to all these stores, like I think it was around like Barrie and Mount Royal, and buy Elvis records and Beatles records. And so I was like a collector of music. Even if I wasn't going to play it, I collected music.
Yeah, he's probably got a point. If you have that many vinyls, you're looking at like $30,000 easily now. Easily. Wow. But bigger than that, like, I have a lot of producer friends, like beat makers and whatnot. I don't know, producer is a liberal term, but beat maker friends. And a lot of them are sample addicts. If you were to just go through vinyls on your Twitch and talk about your favorite records, and that shit is candy to people, man. That is like, and you have it though. That's the thing, is like, most people can't do that because they don't have 7,000 records.
Yeah, right.
Yo, Preach is right. Preach, you gotta tell him all this shit, like, more.
What does Preach say?
No, just all of what he's been saying about you need some talk shit. No, but the talk shit.
It's so bad.
All of that go live. Like, bro, I could come up with 5 shows for you. We could make the Don Smooth network. Out of this interview, you've given me 5 shows. Easily, we could build around you.
Okay, I'll make a deal. If you and Preach will come to Mommy's house, to Mommy's garage, and help go through the vinyl, I would consider it. Because that's my whole thing. Like, don't ask me to find anything. It's there. Just don't ask me where it is.
Bro, I'm going to make a lot of TikToks while I'm doing it. But yeah. Like, yeah. For real, like whatever we gotta do, man, because that would be a beautiful thing. Yo, like homeboys like Vincent Price and them who make beats and whatnot, who also were bumping you on the radio back in the day. Like they're on YouTube, like whatever, looking for it. Also, if you were really smart, you would run a digital thing and grab MP3s of the obscure shit before you sold it.
Yeah, I would be able to find the stuff that I want for sure. I'm heavily into. I'm not a beat maker, but I'm heavily too into the samples. Like whenever I would get a record, I was always looking in the liner notes to see where it came from originally and try to get the original and add that to the collection. I love listening to the originals of shit.
Hold on, they used to put all the samples in the liner notes. I don't know if
Yeah. On the back of a record, it would always say where it was sampled from,
that's interesting.
or if it was an interpolation, or yeah.
I never really looked at. I always looked at written, but I never really paid that much attention to it. But that's an interesting point. So you would just like run that back and then go find the source material of a particular song, cop the whole vinyl. Now it's part of the collection.
Yeah.
That must have been one hell of an expensive habit, though.
That it was, but that was my addiction. You know what I mean? Music, that was my addiction.
Yo, but it's wild because it's like you
every week was the record stores. That was my addiction.
You could probably argue that's an asset you could put against a house.
Possibly.
That's fucking wild, man. I would love to see that. I mean, honestly, I really, really would love to see that. You late 80s babies may as well have been born in the 2000s. Yeah, you know, when I was 13, bro, the CDs was there and the not even the CDs, it was the MP3 players. So you would get I went through the transition. My high school started with like tapes was like kind of on the out. You still had a tape player. You were still dubbing when I was 10. By the time I'm 17, it's all MP3 players and iPods.
Yeah.
Like you.
So it's a different connection. Yeah, it's a different connection to the
I've
music.
never like bought a vinyl. I used to go through the lyrics of like the CDs, like the jewel case shit. I would look at the artwork and go through the CDs. I just never read the credits. I never cared when I was a teenager. I cared as an adult. Genius.com is a fucking godsend for all the credits it has. It's super helpful.
Yeah.
But
and who sampled? I go to who sampled. I get a lot of information there on the tracks. You know.
Or like
to find out where it came from, where it was originally.
Internet's wonderful for that shit, but you had to do that back in the day with the retro versions. Preach is right. I've basically been spoiled. I've had Google. In high school, they taught me to Google. That's kind of like a reality.
You know, I'm never one to hate on the technology. If it's there and it's available and it'll help you do what you want to do, why not? Like,
to answer that, RC232, I have definitely had it because the Walkman is the brand, yo. So I've had a CD player that's a Sony Walkman.
You had the Discman.
Nah, the Sony Walkman, if we want, is the.
Oh, you had.
It's a pronoun, right? So all of Sony's Discmen were Walkmen, because Walkman is like the actual company name, right? Technically, whereas the Discman is more like the colloquial term of flipping that shit, and then it became like what it became. But technically, I had a Sony one at one point. And
did you have the yellow one, the Sport?
I had a tape player though. I actually had the yellow tape player when I was younger. My dad was super into that shit, so like he was really into dubbing records, tapes. So like we all had the gear. So I grew up with like all of that shit, and he'd make his own mixtapes and shit. We would take shit off the radio. He would have his whatever. We were not fans of radio DJs talking over the song. Nobody ever liked that in my world, but apparently that's a thing. Apparently some people like it though. I mean, so I'm not gonna knock it. I get why radio people do it, but yeah, I used to cop tapes and shit when I was a kid. I used to like sit there and wait for my favorite song and hit the fucking record. And
I think we all did that. You know, I used to make a lot of tapes off the radio.
I think I'm the last ones though. I think my age is like 5 years younger tops, because by then, you were hollering at homie to make you a disc for $5.
Yeah, you didn't have to do nothing.
And so, yeah, I did do the Walkman thing, and I lived with headphones and shit on for like high school, but it wasn't like tapes. Tapes got replaced by CDs right quick because like they got affordable when I hit that age. It wasn't like they was super expensive.
I remember when we started doing mixed CDs, a blank CD was like, I'm talking mid to late 90s, the ones that you could record on. They were like, what, like at least $10-15, I think, for one blank. It was like an outrageous amount of money when we first started doing mixed CDs. When we started doing that out of Street Sounds, we used to sell mixed CDs for $25, $30 easily.
That's like, to me, that's wild shit to think about. Like, man, I used to buy CDs, but my rule is $1 a song. Like, if it costs more than $1 a song, I don't want that shit. It was too expensive. Yeah. But even then, like, I was still way later on. That's like 2008, you know, like 2007. Because I didn't have money before then. I'm too young for money until like 2006, we'll say. And then, so like, yeah, now it's all, this algorithm shit's weird though. I kind of miss the feeling of purchasing a record and listening to it and hating songs.
I don't, I miss, like, since I'm not collecting vinyls anymore, I don't listen to as many albums as I used to listen to, or I don't listen from front to back as much as I used to. You know, I'll still pick them up. Like, I think the Nas album was the last one that I listened to that I was bumping, like, from front to back. And I checked out Donda, of course, and the Certified Lover Boy.
Oh, which did you prefer?
I mean, I'm biased. I'm gonna go with Drake. Of course, the Kanye is always gonna be the creative, but I am biased, and I always roll with the Canadian boy. I found myself listening to Drake's with less skipping. Like, I found out I skipped less on his both classic albums, but I found myself skipping less on Drake's. And I thought Nas's was like outstanding. It didn't get the attention those two got, but
nah, I didn't listen to Nas's yet, to be honest. Like, it was like there was a lot of this year I had a lot of trouble listening to new music if it wasn't from Montreal, to be honest. A lot of it's related to these interviews, and so like I'm usually listening to people I'm bumping like right before I'm talking to them, and it's constant. But then it's like I'm like, how can I like actually play a role if I'm not listening to the Montreal people? And that takes time. Definitely. And then I was
so tell me who's come across your way? Like, who should I look out? Like, Peach told me about Skyfall. Who in Montreal should I be looking out for?
I think Mike Shab is one of the most impressive people I've seen in the city. He makes his own beats. He has a style to it too, where you can hear it's a Mike Shab beat. He raps in a way where you hear it's a Mike Shab rap. It's very believable, grimy, and I think it works. It works really well. Sounds like Montreal. Like, I don't know how else to put it, but like you feel like there's this Montrealness to it. His cover art will incorporate. I think he does his own cover arts too. Like, he's like really like one of those guys, honestly. Like, Hustler is like, don't get me wrong, cool, but like Hustler's with the label world, which I understand creates complications. Like, you don't get to release as much music and etc. etc. Other than that, I have a harder time answering that question because I have realized how little I know. Mike Shab would be my number one, and then after that, it's like I thought I had an idea, and then I've been working on this playlist. It's got a lot of people on it, but I realized there's just dudes in there like China Tylotis. I'm watching him on Preacher's stream, and I'm like, you know what? I didn't even bump his last album. How can I really fully say anything about a lot of people now? Because it's hard. But Shabo is easy to make that claim on because nobody's as consistent and hot, and everybody likes him. I've never met a person that could argue with it. So that's another sign for me. Everybody can argue with everybody else, but Mike Shab, and he's young.
Okay, well, definitely you got me curious. I will definitely.
And he's tapped into the French scene. Like, he was rolling with Jean-Loup and all them. So like, how many English guys are that tapped into the French scene and coming at it with that quality? Nah, it's over. I don't think most of us made the politics.
That's a gap that still needs to be bridged.
It's him. That kid is doing it.
He's the one.
But it's not just him. There's other ones that are slowly coming through. I think a lot of the French ones are rapping in English too. And it's gonna go shut up Night Nurse selections for the.
Oh wow! Shout out Germany. Good night, Night Nurse.
Oh, say a word. That's like 3:30 in the morning then. That's wild. Wow. Shout out you. I know I've seen you in the other parts of the day, but that's huge. But yeah.
Big up Germany. Big up Night Nurse. She's a heavy supporter. I've met her through Forever Preach, and she's like an amazing supporter. She's a manager. She represents, you know, several reggae artists,
Oh, say
and
word.
she really loves the culture, promotes the culture heavily on Twitch. You know,
Big respect, Night Nurse. Appreciate that. Appreciate the host too. Um, but yeah, I think Shabo's gonna be like one of those ones that does big things, and then you're gonna see a lot of little underground people come through. Because I think the city's pockets in a lot of ways, and there's so many Montreals that like you can almost go to just a different borough and it's gonna be different. Like I'm pretty sure that the white kids in the West Island are not doing the same thing as the dudes on 9th Avenue and fucking up North Montreal, whatever. You know, like it's gonna
of
be
course
two
not. Sure not.
completely different fucking vibes. And I don't think Montreal knows how big it is, and it doesn't know the advantage of that. We get to have all the scenes, like every sound, and that's what I learned about Montreal right now, and why it's hard to fully answer your question because I'm not willing to vouch for a lot at the moment. Is that there's
Understandable.
everything is what I found. I mean, there's EDM rap, there's juggalo sounding screamo shit, there's whatever you can think of. I've found like Chad Game is one of those dudes really holding down boom bap. Like Travis Bryant is taking on this Lil Peep styled persona that's crushing it, but brings it with bars. It's like what Lil Peep wishes he was.
Wow.
Like I'm just looking around and seeing people kind of pocketing in the lanes, but then there's all the bigger masses of it. Montreal horny as fuck right now. Everybody's rapping about pussy. I don't know what it is, but like I don't know if it's always been like that, but I was like listening to this playlist and all I did, my criteria is so different than most people's. It's your most two recent songs I could find unless I decided to add some other shit for some other reasons. And then so it's just everybody's 2021 work really. And holy shit, the whole city, regardless, we're talking the spitters, the what everybody wants to fuck right now. That's what the whole
Everybody was on the same topic.
kind of, yeah, it made me feel weird that I
Everyone
haven't
can
been doing that. Like I'm like, wait a second.
everyone can relate.
And
I just
so
wanted to. I just got to take a minute. I just got to shout out T-Locks, RC232, Nikki G. Those are my mods. Like that. Like shout out you guys. They've been here since 7:00, 2.5 hours strong. You asked about mods. That's a prime example, man. I appreciate you guys.
yeah,
I salute you guys so much.
that is big facts.
And DiBiase and Preach, they've been here for the whole time too. So shout out to everybody that's been here for the whole time. Shout out anybody that's just popped in now. Much appreciated.
I agree with you. Shout out everybody that did that. I don't shout out people as much as you shout out people. Maybe I should shout out people more.
You got you. The community. The community is crucial for me. You know what I mean? It's like they take the time to they give me their time. So I you know it's only right that I thank them and acknowledge them for their time. Time is very precious. You know what I mean?
I agree. I mean, I think you're right in doing that. It's one of those things I just noticed, you know. Don Smooth is much more experienced in the game. Pay attention, you know. Preach is like, I feel like this guy's ghost manager. I mean, if Preach is giving you that kind of advice and he's saying I've been saying the same shit, like I trust myself when it comes to like fucking. I mean, I'll run that shit. Preach, you're doing good things. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Preach. Preach calls me up and I got my first 30-minute Preach fucking phone call. I don't know what the fuck that experience was. They're still wild. A Preach call is a wild thing, is my opinion. Like sometimes you're not sure what the energy is. You just know that the destination's probably worth pursuing.
Yeah.
And then
well said.
And then like, yo, I'm here though. And honestly, he told me to go on Twitch, blah blah blue bleep. I listen, and immediately after I'm talking to like real names in battle rap. That like literally got me clout that fuck shit up in a great way. So had I not listened to Preach, had I not taken it, because he was like hard shift, and I argued with him, and then I hard shifted clumsily. It was a very clumsy hard shift, but it was the right choice. And I don't know, we're still doing this. I have not tried to book when I say tried, I'm gonna put no effort into booking people. It's almost to a point where like sometimes I'm like, wow, they just keep coming now, and I'm like, I don't know if I can book you all. I'm not ever gonna go back to the pace I was doing last year. It's like,
yeah,
one a week, a couple extra, you know? And so it's like, wow, this is crazy. This is like wild to me. Like just that, you listen a couple of times and energy goes. And if it's better to shout out people more often, shout out everybody. Appreciate all of you.
Yeah, man, you got to shout out your peoples, man. They support you. The supporters, you got to pick up the supporters. You show them love. They show you love, you give the love back.
Yeah, I agree with that. I find it easier to do that on streams where we're playing fucking Jackbox than it is in the interviews. The interviews are like a ride. Those are like, it's a different mindset. Like the other ones, it's simpler. You should try Jackbox games. I'm gonna just bring that up. I don't know if you've ever played it, but they're really literary. I don't know if you've ever played Balderdash in real life.
Familiar with it. I know of it. I've never played it.
They're like word games where it's puns and shit. So you just write a bunch of stupid shit and you laugh. That's Jackbox games. And
I think Preach mentioned that to me the other day when we were talking. I think Preach did mention that to me the other day.
And the community can play with you. I've been testing it. So this is one where I'm like, because, there's robot battle rap game. And it's so, you think it's easy, but no, it's like Mad Libs. So I'm bad at it. It's like you put a word and then you got to drop a line and then the robot raps the shit and it sounds weird. And then everybody votes on their favorite. And it's like corny, but amazing. It's like, trust your community loves that shit. They don't know it yet.
You got to let me know when you're going live with that, so I'll check it out.
Every Thursday. Although we all like stream at the same times, a lot of us. So it's like I go Thursday 7 to 10, 9-ish. I don't know. We don't know the end.
Yeah, I'm not on in the evening time, so evenings I'm free. So
yeah,
I'll definitely make a note and check that out.
But yeah, it's goofy, it's fun, and the best part is the audience can play too. And that's why it's dope. And then we're running a Discord call, so whoever want to jump on the call can. So it becomes even more like, oh, you can be on the stream.
The more interaction, the better, for sure.
I don't know if you can do that with Telegram and Twitch, but if you can do that with Telegram, you should create that kind of funnel where you can have you could be on the stream by joining the Telegram chat thing, Vibe Tribe. Because that's the thing is because I think that's the move is collecting people in privates. Just move everybody into a private. Forget about big time Facebook. Forget about all of that. All that's trash. Go to the private spaces like a Discord or what Preach is doing and get your clubhouse, so to speak. So when VR does come, you just move into the metaverse like that, and now you're there.
You're all set up and ready to go.
I've been thinking about this for like 3 years. Like, cause I work in a software company, and the conversations they have are fucking fast. And like they were talking crypto farms and mining like 3 years ago, and then they were like, we shouldn't, like. So whatever we're doing is to sell to Facebook if you get into tech. Like you're not ever going to win being a tech company because they're already doing it. But what they suck at is people. So that's why like it's really interesting. So you can, in theory, I want to create a tech company that I can just sell to a giant tech company and then that'll finance whatever the fuck I want to do next. That's my big dream with VR. Because you can do some crazy shit low end because everyone is ignoring music because I pitched like CEO dudes of like other startups like Zoom Alternatives because somehow I ended up in places with them in digital lines. I'm spitting my music game, bro. The market's there, and everybody ignores it because it's rappers and nobody wants to invest in rap. So that's amazing because it's such an opportunity because once you get the traffic in, you know who will want to invest in buying your company up for $100,000, for $500,000, whatever? Fucking Facebook or Microsoft or one of them. And if you don't,
well, sounds like you got a plan. You got an idea there.
Yeah, I'm into this a lot, I guess. But honestly, do y'all have any more questions for Don Smooth? I don't want to run it aimlessly and pointlessly. I could tell like my energy is like reaching the point where I'm not sure where to go with this, and time is very precious. So if y'all have any last questions or anything that you would want to throw out, it would be a great time. I'm just, because you have that delay, so you say it, and then you gotta wait like 20 seconds for it to like actually. Until
they see it in
and
the
then
chat.
It could take up to another minute for a person to actually ask a question in my experience, because if the phone's as slow and whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I gotta say now that I'm here, I gotta put in a shameless plug. You always gotta promote. I'm on Twitch. It's easy to find me Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 3 p.m. Tomorrow's Total Rewind. Wednesday is a brand new stream that's being put together by Preach and Night Nurse Selections and Team No Sleep. They've collaborated. It's 100% reggae and dancehall stream every Wednesday. I'm on at 3. The rate starts at 12. Got a DJ playing dancehall out of Italy. We got a DJ Dub Kush out of Virginia. Gonna have special guests this week out of Jamaica, Total Flames. Yours truly, Don Smooth, Forever Preach. Another special guest after that, and Adrian Frost out of Barbados. So we're trying to bring variety to the Twitch streams. And then on Thursday, I do something called It Was All a Stream, where it's like hip hop throwbacks with a little bit of R&B. And that, once again, I try to keep my stream times consistent. That's something I learned in the last year being on Twitch, was the consistency. Like I figured out certain things, like before I would go on only for 1 hour. And then I was like, okay, I realized Feature's like, yo, you got to do at least an hour and a half before anyone even sees or knows that you're on. So we started stretching out the streams to an hour and a half to 2 hours. Sometimes I do the occasional 3 and 4 hours.
I got that same call.
Yeah, for real. And I was like, wow. Like I used to jump on. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it an hour. It's like, okay, that's.
Ooh,
and
let's
like,
not
okay,
forget the Wu-Tang Raid Train next week.
But I didn't get there yet. I was still on this week.
I'm sorry. I was just responding to his enthusiasm.
Because you see, I set it up there earlier. I mentioned that he does the raid thing. He does Wu Wednesdays on his own every week. It's a really dope stream. He plays like all kind of music. But you can really get a Montreal vibe from his stream at the same time. And yes, as DiBiase mentioned, he does the Wu Wednesdays every Wednesday. And then, yes, next week, right? The 27th, I'm jumping on a raid there. It's going to have a bunch of DJs, Easy LD, yours truly, Full Blast Radio. And we did one last month, like I guess kind of like a test run. It was 3 of us. It was myself, DJ DiBiase, and DJ Gemini out of Akron, Ohio. And we did, I think it was 6 hours of strictly Wu-Tang. And like, it's not like you heard Ice Cream and Triumph 10 times. Like it wasn't, the songs didn't replay. We didn't. I think it's just like, maybe we were like-minded individuals. It's like, I came up first, and it's like, I'm not going to play out all the bangers. Like, I'm going to spread it out. And at the same time, anybody that's jumping on for a Wu-Tang raid is a Wu-Tang fan, and they know the music. They don't need to hear Ice Cream and Triumph over and over and over, and Cash Rules everything around me. So we were able to go deep with the music. It was a good audience. It was a good vibe. Expanding it, DiBiase's expanding it, making it longer and bigger the next time around, incorporating more DJs. Definitely, it was a good look. I was entertained. I was like, at first I was like, man, I'm like, I know there's enough music, but I'm like, if I play, can I make 2 hours of Wu-Tang entertaining and not monotonous? And before I knew it, the time was up. And anytime I lose track of time during a stream, I know that it's a good stream when the time goes out the window. So yes, DiBiase, that's coming up, 27th. It's on next Wednesday.
That's dope.
You should stop by behind the suit.
If I'm not live, that's been
if you're not live.
Because Wednesday.
Well, you do the Jackbox game on Thursday.
But Wednesdays is technically, and it's kind of been up in the air, my end of the week collab show, Perspectives, which is this shit, but with end of the week, but not the Quebec one, the New York one. So
okay.
If they're like, I actually have to holler at them after and be like, do we have a guest this week? So basically, like, nah, do your plug. I'm all for it. We can throw the shout out thing too. Shout out DJ DiBiase, and I meant more like the shout out command. But like, never shameless to promote your stuff. Nah, never shameless to promote yourself. I think that's a lesson a lot of us have to learn. I was not the best at that lesson at all. Preach was like, nobody knows anything about you. I'm like, that's a fair point. If you don't tell people, why are they gonna know things? And but yeah, that's cool. I'm excited about it. But yeah, if it's happening, because sometimes when you're not the one booking people, you just get to find out every week if it's happening, and then you find out the week of. So given I'm free that day, I would love to check it out. If not, I'll check the VOD if it's available. I know.
Cool.
Do you have a question is the same as the last? Sorry, do you have a question is the last minute song selection? Yeah, I suppose that's exactly what that is. Do you have a question at the end? It's the last minute song. It's like the way to wrap up the thing, I think, is what he's saying. I assume that's what DJs do at the end of it. Last minute song selection.
Exactly, meaning what? Like if I have a last minute song selection, I'm not sure. I'm not too sure of the question.
I don't know. I think it was more of a statement, and I was just reading on it. I don't know if it was a question. Yeah, it's hard to tell. You respond to the chat, you roll with it. But anyway,
Yeah,
I appreciate having you here, Mr. Don Smooth. I really
it was
enjoyed
good
this
to be back.
conversation.
I
Um,
think Don
Don asked me to
choose.
choose a song last minute once.
Did I? Okay. I don't remember. It's very possible. I don't remember exactly. Oh, that sounds familiar, but I can't remember exactly what it was.
And he said,
It's very possible.
"Choked hard."
Oh,
Yeah. Some
it wasn't that bad because I can't even remember what it was exactly, but it's possible.
life happens, but the most important
Yeah.
part is that we move on and we get to have other moments that are less. I forgot a song in a moment. I appreciate having you, Don Smooth. It's really great to talk to you. You're
It was
really
great
smart.
being here. I got to tell you, as someone that I don't get interviewed that often, I've been interviewed a bunch of times. I would have never sat down for 2-3 hours like I did with you now on the second occasion. I guess that we're almost at a total of 6 hours talking. It's a first and might be the last time that I've done anything like this. And that says a lot to you because you make it so comfortable and so conversational and you keep it interesting. So keep doing what you're doing. I probably said it in the last interview. The city's in good hands. Guys like yourself, Forever Preach, 514 Online. Definitely, I salute you guys going forward and keep doing what you do. Shout out to Bonnie. I see Bonnie in the
Shout
chat for
out Bonnie
sure.
big time. Yo, Bonnie's like her, and yo, if we're shouting out Bonnie because his name didn't come up one time yet, shout out Chris because y'all don't even know, but he has to go listen to this whole conversation after. He has to give me timestamps because
Wow.
I'm never gonna do it. But the product, you can't be posting a fucking 3-4 hour interview, or sometimes they go longer without timestamps. Because if you're bored
Yeah.
with that 7-minute segment, whatever,
Yeah. You're gone.
and I'm never gonna do it because I can't listen to this chat again. We just did it. It drives me. I can handle the clips. Can't do it. So basically, yeah. Shout out Chris Crum because like he listened to every interview last year. Every one of them. He knows more about people. Nobody knows how much he knows. Y'all might
He
think me because
knows.
I'm having the chats. He's consuming the content and taking notes. Chris is danger to the whole city. He's gonna be coming through with the best of everything.
That's something because even me myself, I was never one to. I'll go back, make sure audio or things are good with an interview, but yeah,
Yeah,
I don't go back and listen to myself that often.
I do listen to my playback here and there, Preach. I make the efforts to improve. I try hard. I definitely am aware when I fuck up these days. But I have a lot of trouble doing it quickly because it's like a lot of conversation of me having conversations. It's like a lot of it. It's like rewatching a TV show right after having it. But I really appreciate your words. It's humbling to hear, right? Like I don't know, my life changed a lot, so I appreciate that a lot. And
But you keep evolving, man. It's evolution. I'm celebrating. February is gonna be mark 30 years that I've been doing this professionally. In you know what I mean. So
that's like,
I'm very blessed because a lot of dudes came and went during that period of time that didn't even make it 5 years or 10 years. So I'm very blessed to still be in a position to do it, to still make money doing it, and going forward, I still have things in the future. So
I mean, you're getting like
consistency.
we're gonna start hearing the guy on YouTube ads and shit in the future.
I hope so. That's the plan. You know what I mean? Down the line, one day you'll be watching and that guy at the TD Bank telling you to go and get them RSPs and get your stocks, you might be a familiar voice.
Man, it's gonna be dope, man. That to me, that was one of my favorite parts when you said they edit it. Oh my god, it changed my life. You don't understand. Like I was holding myself back.
Bro, they send you a script, they tell you high energy, low energy, corporate, fun, da 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 da. They give you some direction. You read the script, you send off an MP3 with your name on it, and they do what they gotta do with it. They polish it up and it's done.
That's amazing. See, that's the kind of nuggets you get from Don Smooth. I appreciate you sharing as much as you did. I appreciate everyone watching too. I didn't say it as much as Don Smooth, but for real, like everybody being a part of this, like if that chat wasn't moving, it wouldn't be this long. The ones where the chat don't move, they somehow don't go past 2 hours. It's just wild how there's a correlation between those two things. Or when the number stays like 14 is a pretty crazy number for the wrap up part of an interview. So like, I
Glad to hear.
appreciate like
shout out to Bash. I see Bash in here too. So.
Oh, is he? Yeah, I just saw it there. And shout out Nikki. Appreciate you coming through. Now I know who she is in context to you. Shout out Bonnie, Preach. Oh man, all the other names that are there. T-Lokes and RC232.
It's T-Locks. T-Locks.
T-Locks. See what happens. DJ TPRC, Night Nurse Selections, Bionic Pixie, of course. And I'm certain other people were there that I think if I just keep reading names, it's going on forever. But I appreciate everyone who I didn't mention, and you're all are wonderful people. To all the people watching this in the future, I didn't forget you either, because I always think about you. We thank you. You can join us live on Twitch in the future, but since you're not on Twitch, make sure to like, follow, subscribe, comment. All the links are in the description for Don Smooth and all that good stuff. Seriously, thank you again for coming. Appreciate everyone again one last time.
It's been fun.
Live long and prosper, everybody.
Bless up, everyone. Blessings, blessings, blessings.